Alright, you and I are about to dive into a crazy story that kicks off in a dark warehouse surrounded by bodies and a smoking gun. Our main character is completely lost, having absolutely no memory of how he died. Suddenly, creepy black tentacles burst out of the shadows, reminding him of his final moments and forcing him to run for his life as the limbs chase him down. He scrambles toward the weapon, spins around, and starts blasting at the monstrosity, desperately trying to piece together his memories of a beast and a radiant angel. Just when he thought it was going to be another mundane workday, a massive arm impales him right through the chest. Pain explodes through his entire body as the parasite begins to devour him. Out of nowhere, a beautiful red-haired warrior clad in shining gold armor leaps in, hacking away at the tentacles to protect our defenseless hero as he cowers against the wall. With the monster slain, the exhausted boy collapses onto the floor, covered in dark slime. Sensing his life slipping away, he looks up to hear the heavy, metallic footsteps of his armored savior approaching. Looking at her glowing figure standing above him, he feels a tiny glimmer of hope despite the excruciating pain. The angelic warrior kneels to heal him, explaining that everyone is safe because of his bravery, but even her divine power isn't enough. Despite her desperate efforts, she cannot save the young hero who just saved the world. Even so, a sense of pride washes over him. He finally got to do something truly meaningful. Gently placing her hand on him, she reveals her name is Reina, the Valkyrie of Dawn. With that comfort, Noah closes his eyes, ready for a peaceful sleep as his vision fades. His mind drifts into the cold void, wondering if his sacrifice will be remembered. Suddenly, a vision of legendary battles flashes before him. Now, watch this. We see the legendary Noah wielding a glowing red spear against a massive armored lion. Our hero had no idea he'd be forced into saving the entire world all over again. Still, slaying hordes of monsters seems like just another day at the office for him. But as his consciousness drifts through the endless cosmos, he feels entirely empty inside, wondering if this is truly death. He tries to clear his head, desperately attempting to identify the mysterious monster and the dazzling angel from his fading memories. Staring into the endless darkness, Noah calls out, hoping for an answer. Suddenly, a deep, raspy voice echoes from the void, claiming the young man possesses something highly coveted. Overwhelmed with questions, Noah realizes he is standing right before the master of the void, the entity that rules the entire astral plane. The ancient spirit explains that Noah's soul was shattered across the cosmic rifts. However, enough fragments remain to reconstruct his physical form. Looking at the glowing blue sphere of energy before him, our hero wants to feel grateful for this second chance. Yet, even as he holds it, he cannot feel its warmth on his skin. The entity demands no gratitude, but orders him to safeguard a mysterious seal. Noah, completely bewildered, immediately asks what this seal actually is. The spirit tells him to peer into his soul to activate his astral map using magic. Noah is baffled, having absolutely no clue how to do something like that. Not wanting to anger this terrifying deity, Noah closes his eyes and breathes deeply. Suddenly, a blinding light flashes and a system interface screen pops up, confirming his astral map is fully unlocked. He taps the floating blue menu, which displays his name, race, stats, and a completely empty inventory. Realizing the magical seal is fused directly into his soul, Noah asks how this happened. The giant entity twists its massive arms in space, booming that removing it is practically impossible. While Noah worries, the ancient spirit reveals that there is still one way out. But pay attention here, the cosmic entity tempts Noah with an offer of absolute godlike power and a new life in exchange for his very soul. Feeling cornered, Noah asks about the consequences of refusal. The dark deity warns that his soul will be slowly eaten away until the seal is completely extracted. Realizing he has no leverage, Noah jokingly demands a lawyer, refusing to sign any contract without thoroughly reading the fine print first. But the impatient god snaps, stating that soul pacts are bound by raw spiritual force, not mortal laws. Noah tries to negotiate, begging for a guarantee of safety. Coldly and directly, the cosmic monster tells him there are no guarantees. Just then, the system agreement prompt reappears. Noah realizes that with every passing second, his memories are slipping away, leaving him completely unsure of what his physical body was like or what it even feels like to be alive. With his hand hovering over the accept button, he hesitates, realizing the heavy toll of such a deal. Ultimately, he declines, knowing that bargains with void entities always end in disaster. Noah faces the entity and asks why an all-powerful god cannot just take the seal by force. The giant deity roars that Noah possesses an incredibly bizarre soul, instantly wrapping its dark tentacles tightly around him. Noah suffocates in the crushing grip as the cosmic spirit demands absolute submission. Massive hands extend from the darkness, unleashing binding threads that wrap around our hero, who struggles desperately to break free from the trap. As they glare at each other, the unbothered god claims it will make Noah a messiah once the seal is ripped from his soul. Suddenly, the system displays a new offer, prompting Noah to become the chosen messiah of the void. But the furious young man flatly refuses to make any deals with this monster. Noah watches his spiritual body get slowly consumed by the dark arms. The entity is fascinated by how a mere mortal can resist the temptation of godhood. Our hero screams that he will never serve a monster, forcing the spirit to ask what it will take to make him yield. The tentacles vanish, leaving a gasping Noah to recall that a strong spirit can actually control the pact. Rising to his feet, he proposes a new deal where he holds the reins of their contract. The spirit scoffs at the terms, knowing it could easily erase Noah from existence with a single snap of its fingers. But Noah confidently fires back that if the god actually had the power to do so, he would have done it already. The hooded figure laughs at the mortal audacity, but suddenly forces a non-consensual contract upon Noah, triggering a painful mutation to turn him into a powerful creature of the void. Noah screams in agony as the entity declares his soul bound to the darkness forever, while the system flashes with a notification of his rebirth. As he is sucked into a swirling black hole, the booming voice of the void wonders how the mortal will utilize this terrifying new power. And that's where we leave things, with our day's hero waking up in the middle of a dark cultist ritual. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are about to dive into one crazy story. These monks are shocked their Shadow Lord can actually speak, but then a bald warrior drags in a captive, and they immediately go wild, worshipping him again. Noah watches in shock as a gagged woman is thrown at his feet. The cultists keep chanting about how honored they are. Once he realizes she is a human sacrifice, our guy is completely disgusted. But when the executioner draws his blades, Noah freezes up, totally lost on how to handle this insane situation. Sweat pours down his face. He desperately needs answers, so he pulls up the system to check his skills, only for a quest screen to pop up, telling him to run for his life. Frustrated, our hero stands up and starts checking his body, wondering if he somehow got turned into some ancient elemental spirit. He glares at the cultists and demands to know where he is, which instantly throws the religious fanatics into a total panic. A nervous cultist named Ben stammers that this is the abyss of Arendar, and they summon him for a blessing. Noah quickly plays along, roaring in a terrifying voice that he hates being woken up from his sleep for petty mortal favors. The terrified monks desperately try to explain that this is just a physical gateway, meaning their master is free to leave and return whenever he wants. Our main character locks in, knowing he needs to gather more information before making his next move. So he activates his identification skill to figure out who these freaks actually are. He scans the room, identifying a cultist, the bald executioner, and the captive girl lying on the stone floor who is clearly having a terrible day. He figures if he saves her, she might help him escape. Searching his system for a distraction, he pulls out a special scroll containing a message sent straight from the Master of the Void. Putting on his best god voice, he tells the cultists he will grant their blessing, but only if the woman lives. He demands she become his personal servant, shocking everyone. Then he drops a heavy glare, asking if they dare to refuse him. Totally flustered, a follower tries to explain that sacrifices are just how things work. But Noah declares that from now on, he makes the rules. As panic erupts, our hero raises his hands to silence their whining and walks right over to the girl. He kneels down, whispering that even though he has no idea what is going on, he is going to save her. He stands up, loudly claiming the girl as his own property. But right then, a cold voice echoes through the cavern, demanding to know who gave him the authority to do that. Noah whips his head around and uses his identification skill, instantly spotting a group of high-level elders who seem to run this entire crazy cult. Holding the injured girl, he realizes things are about to get real ugly. One of the cultists is already whispering about his true plans to the leader. Furious, the boss yells that Noah is just a regular human and orders his capture. Now, pay attention here, because his escape quest suddenly turns into a total annihilation mission. Noah tackles the bald executioner like a pro football player, instantly disarming him. As they crash down, the executioner drops a key, but our hero misses it completely, focused entirely on laying a heavy beatdown on the guy. The trembling bald man glances at the key, and Noah stops punching when he notices the guy's panicked look. He quickly grabs the key and hurls it toward the girl like a quarterback, making a game-winning pass. But the executioner scrambles back up, grabbing his sword to attack, forcing Noah to spin around and get into a fighting stance. With zero hesitation, the brute swings his blade and charges forward, while Noah carefully watches his every move. But before he can block, a dark shadow wraps around his arms, and a creepy smiling reflection appears on the floor. The executioner ruthlessly stabs his blade straight into our hero's chest, blasting him backward as his health points plunge near zero. As he prepares to finish Noah off, our weak hero looks up in pure panic, seeing the sword is now ablaze. But wait, did he actually get hit? Well, think again. In a split second, the executioner is instantly turned to ash. The captive girl finally unleashes her true, overwhelming power, completely frying anyone who dares to approach her. She casually waves her hand, sending a massive wave of fire crashing across the altar. The cultists charging her are instantly swallowed by violent, raging firestorms, with absolutely zero chance of surviving the onslaught. Enraged, the cult leader screams that he will personally tear this fiery little brat apart. Meanwhile, another cultist rushes straight toward Noah, who is bleeding out on the ground with only 8% health left. But our guy is no quitter. He grabs a nearby sword, forces himself up, and ruthlessly slashes his attacker, all while that dark shadow behind him smiles menacingly on the ground. With the enemy down, the system confirms he wiped out the cultists and saved Aurelia Foster, but since he hasn't chosen a path, he cannot claim his rewards. His experience points are locked until he chooses. Meanwhile, Noah's health is ticking down fast as the system waits for him to pick a class path. But before making a choice, his body gives out. He collapses, thinking what a joke it is to die like this, and feels himself plummeting right back into the astral void. Suddenly, his eyes slowly open, and he finds himself staring right at a claw machine. Looking around, he realizes he is inside an arcade. A guy with glasses waves and says he has been waiting for him. It is an employee named Dylan, smiling at our hero. Noah demands to know who he is and where they are, but Dylan just asks if he's another annoying emissary of the void sent to ruin his shift. Noah is speechless. Seeing how nervous our main character is, the employee decides to break down exactly what is happening. He explains he is Dylan, but has no last name because Noah's subconscious was too lazy to invent one. He then reveals he is the actual representation of the void inside Noah's astral space. Noah walks over to an arcade cabinet, figuring out that this entire place is just his mental map. Suddenly, the game screen flashes, congratulating Noah on earning a rare prize that lets him unlock 3 paths simultaneously. Dylan explains this map represents Noah's soul, though he privately complains that humans never understand how magic actually works. The Void Guide reveals that this arcade is a direct reflection of Noah's ancestry, asking with a nostalgic look if this place feels familiar. Noah admits it brings back childhood memories. While playfully throwing a fake Street Fighter fireball, he asks why he was brought here. Dylan does not have the answers either, but guesses there is a special reason. He simply tells Noah to hit start. The screen transitions to character selection, detecting weird anomalies from his past life. It offers several classes, letting him pick up to 3, making our hero highly curious about how this selection works. Dylan explains his 4 main stats, and trust me, you will want to see his next choice. These paths control his abilities, showing stat boosts that make him stronger, but high paths bring nasty blockages. Trust me, you and I are about to watch him break this entire system. So Dylan explains what happens if he goes for a basic warrior build. This path grants steady stat boosts upon leveling up, but the rewards are painfully average. It is the same deal for fighters, artists, or rogues. Finding these basic options pretty dull, our main character agrees to check out the other machines when the employee mentions more specialized setups. The guide stops in front of a healing focus machine, calling it absolutely essential, prompting our hero to step up and check it out. Looking at the options, Noah notes he almost died earlier and asks if this path would save him next time. Dylan explains that upon death, time slows down right before your next awakening. Basically, this healing path buys him a few precious minutes to cling to life. Our hero pauses on a wild option called the Exsanguinator, letting him drain enemy blood to heal himself or inflict pain. He instantly loves the vibe, and Dylan agrees, calling it true healing through suffering. RG locks in the choice, leaving 2 classes left. Dylan watches him scroll until he highlights a path he thinks is crucial for our boy. It is the Herald of the Void, offering endless darkness, but Noah has zero interest in being a puppet. He keeps searching the menu at his own pace until he spots the intriguing Astral Wanderer class, which lets him drift between dimensions, and the deadly Void Hunter path, giving him the beastly instinct to hunt down anything in his path. With his 3 classes selected, he slams the joystick to lock them in. As he hits start, shadows erupt from the walls, wrapping around him in a tight cocoon. Noah grunts from the sheer pressure of this dark merge, while Dylan watches in satisfaction, noting the upgrade is pretty agonizing. Our main character could only curse his guide. As the claustrophobic upgrade drags on, pay attention here, because the system is about to reconstruct his status in the wildest way. Noah wakes up with the taste of copper in his mouth, Feeling his body tingle as he stands, his exsanguinator class immediately kicks in. Resting his hands in the blood pool, he feels his health coming back. Seeing a notification that he needs 5 minutes for a full heal, he decides to just chill out and lay back in the warm liquid. But the brutal fight is still raging between the Abyss Monk leader and Aurelia, who is taking a massive beating. Staring at the terrifying, mutated form of the cultist, the fire sorceress desperately looks for a way to destroy him once and for all. Meanwhile, our blood-sucking main character gets a brand new system quest to defeat Victrol Nefar, the monk boss, to earn a rare skill. But to pull this off, nobody can die this time. Aurelia holds her ground as the cultist's giant shadow arms come crashing down on her. She deflects the heavy blows and immediately counters, launching a barrage of explosive fireballs directly at her monstrous opponent. While the monk boss laughs and enjoys the duel, our sorceress is burning through her energy. Noah, still healing up, desperately scans his screen, searching for a way to turn the tide. He quickly starts dumping his unused stat points, optimizing his build for maximum combat power. Once finished, a massive wave of energy surges through him, drastically boosting his status. Aurelia keeps up her fierce assault, but the old monk summons falling stalactites to crush her. She moves like lightning, backflipping away to dodge them all. With incredible skill, she sets giant rocks ablaze, hurling them like explosive missiles at the bald priest who never expected the trick. But the cunning cultist forms a protective barrier with his shadow arms, blocking the fire completely. Noah grabs the executive's sword from the ground, storing it in his inventory as he stands up, fully refreshed. He sees Aurelia slammed against the wall. Now, you and I might think they are done for, as the old monk floats sinisterly. Victrol stops in curiosity as Noah yells that this is a huge misunderstanding. Our guy claims he is an emissary of the Void Incarnate, sent to deliver an urgent message straight to their leader. Skeptical, Victrol asks if he takes him for a fool, but Noah plays the part perfectly, holding out the scroll and claiming the Void itself has sent a reward for his loyal service. Victrol glares at the paper for a moment while Noah hopes his bluff actually works. But the old man snaps in pure rage, lying about the Void Incarnate is the ultimate sin. Seeing the bluff fail, Noah instantly activates his Astral Wanderer path, vanishing into thin air just as Victrol strikes with his massive, shadowy tentacles. Our hero floats through a strange, colorful dimension where reality looks completely distorted. He quickly opens his inventory, pulls out the heavy sword he took from the executive, and hurls it with all his might. The blade sinks deep into Victrol's shoulder, and Noah slides across the floor to prep his next strike. As the old cultist struggles to rip the blade out of his flesh, Noah screams at Aurelia to burn this whole place to the ground. The sorceress grabs the boss and slams him down with centuries of built-up fury. Left completely defenseless, Victrol crashes hard against the stone wall as the metal blade digs even deeper into his body. Still not done, she leaps right back onto the cult leader, raining down a brutal barrage of explosive, flaming punches. To finish him off, she delivers a devastating axe kick that buries the old man deep underground. Noah stands there completely stunned, not knowing whether to fear her strength or celebrate his level ups and massive rewards. Noah collapses onto the dirt, arms wide open in pure victory. But Aurelia slowly walks over, crossing her arms, making it clear he has a lot of explaining to do. She demands to know how he got summoned straight to the ritual circle. But our chill protagonist just tells her to relax, pointing out that she is totally safe now. With a serious look, she summons a small flame, admitting she is grateful, but won't relax until she gets answers. She looks him in the eye and asks if he is even human. Our hero hesitates, deeply worried they might execute Outworlders on sight. Taking a deep, brave breath, he decides to tell her the absolute truth, admitting he is not from this world. She asks if he is working with the cultists or the Iron Fists, but Noah honestly shakes his head. He explains that he is completely lost in this world, prompting her to carefully analyze his face. Softening up, she apologizes for being aggressive, admitting she was already betrayed once today. Staring back at her, Noah understands she has had a terribly rough day. They chat quietly while looking down at Victrol's lifeless body on the floor. As he mentions the bizarre system quests from his astral map, she gets deeply confused by how his powers work. He just smiles and formally introduces himself, revealing he actually died before arriving in this realm. She remains suspicious since reincarnation is strictly divine business, not to mention the fact that he somehow knows her name. But Noah admits he is just as lost as she is. She says Outworlders are rare, but believes him. And that is where we leave them. But you and I know this adventure is just getting started. Alright, you and I are diving into a wild ride where our main character, Noah, watches a witch meditate, quickly realizing his best move is to get the hell out of there. Aurelia looked at him, instantly sensing this guy was not from her world. Pressing her hands together, she explained that meditating is the absolute best way to recharge your mana. Sensing his pathetic aura, she suggested he copy her. But Noah was clueless, forcing Aurelia to explain that every single awakened person radiates their own unique energy. Noah mentioned his world only had basic magicians, making Aurelia chuckle. She found it wild that a magic newbie chose the forbidden exsanguinator path. Our boy loved being a rule breaker and asked if defying the taboo was actually an issue. To Aurelia, as long as he did not raise the dead, she did not care. She told him to quiet down and focus because it was time to meditate. Noah shut his mouth, and boom, the system popped up, granting him the meditation skill. Along with a level up, the young man received an amplification bar. While recovering, our hero decided to explore the blue system window hovering in front of him. Swiping through his attributes, he discovered the terrifying power of obliteration, which channels raw void energy to vaporize anything in his way. Noah stared at his hand, testing out this newly found power, but a sudden system alert warned him that the void was actively draining his own health. He flashed a wicked grin, absolutely loving his new exsanguinator path. Once his mana hit 100%, he stood up and walked over to Victroll's lifeless corpse on the ground. Aurelia snatched the dead monk's bracelet, a handy dimensional storage device, and suggested they head to the city to unlock all the sweet loot hidden inside. Noah was highly intrigued, wondering if he could merge his own game inventory with the physical bracelet. But Aurelia crushed his hopes, explaining that these artifacts use blood ties. They are locked tight even after death, unless they somehow locate the key. With that, she began thoroughly searching the old man's body. Noah casually asked to examine the bracelet, and Aurelia, thinking nothing of it, tossed it right over to him. Watch closely here. The moment Noah analyzes the artifact, his broken system detects the storage device and asks if he wants to steal all the items. Noah clicked confirm, instantly boosting his mana and packing his inventory with Victroll's stolen treasures. As the witch muttered about needing a basement key, Noah casually held one up. Shocked, she demanded to know how he got it. Pointing to the bracelet on his wrist, Noah explained that the key was resting inside the old man's storage, alongside a massive list of other rare loot. Aurelia stared in utter disbelief as the key floated right into her palm. Meanwhile, our cheeky hero decided to play dress-up with the clothes from Victroll's inventory. He threw on a tattered cloak that looked more like a beggar's blanket. Next, his eyes locked onto a creepy ring featuring the Eye of the Abyss, which seemed totally cursed. Aurelia, dragging the head monk's body, admitted through her disgust that the ring grants a massive mana boost. Despite hating how the eye stared at him, Noah slipped it on anyway. Right away, a new ability activated, allowing him to see the levels of everyone around him. With his perception hitting a whole new tier, he scanned Aurelia and saw she was level 68. Grinning, our protagonist checked his inventory again and pulled out Victroll's daggers, which felt incredibly light and perfect for close combat. While Noah played with his new toys, the witch prepped a fire spell. Glancing down at the corpse, she casually asked if this was the very first time Noah had killed an enemy. Curious, the young man asked how she figured it out. Keeping her eyes locked on the body, Aurelia dryly noted that after years on the job, spotting a rookie is incredibly easy. As Noah watched her incinerate Victroll, he asked why she chose such a dark profession. With the fire illuminating the old man's remains, she explained her ultimate goal was protecting the innocent from this world's monsters. Aurelia turned back to Noah, who was busy messing with his system, and asked if he felt any regret for taking a life. Now, you and I might expect some hesitation, but Noah coldly replied that it was him or them. Aurelia agrees, admitting that the cult would have slaughtered countless innocents if they hadn't put these mad monks down. Pulling some rare skill books from his inventory, Noah asked if she thought he was actually doing a good job. The sorceress nodded, admitting that despite his garbage rank, the kid handled himself perfectly. She praised him for keeping his composure under pressure and saving her life. Noah felt incredibly grateful for the compliments, especially since he was basically relying on his gamer knowledge and corporate job interview tactics to survive this supernatural world. Next, the boy placed 2 of Victroll's skill books on the cold ground, asking how to use them. Aurelia replied that they required a complex magic ritual to unlock. She explained they needed a magic circle to channel the books, kindly offering to draw one for him. But before she could even start scratching the dirt, Noah placed his bare hand on the cover. Suddenly, the ominous ring on his finger established a direct magical connection. Bypassing the old-school ritual entirely, our clever hero used his broken system AI to instantly decode and open the spellbook. Gotta love system cheats. The book was a tome of vision, unlocking the legendary skill itself. Without wasting a single second, Noah tapped the screen to claim his reward. The system prompted him to link this brand new skill to a class, Though tempted to buff his exsanguinator path, he chose the mysterious Void Hunter instead. Instantly, his sinister ring boosted his class level to 3, opening a glowing, mystical third eye right on his forehead. When Noah blinked, he realized with pure excitement that his vision was now in high definition. Staring at Aurelia, he blurted out that he could see her mana. But she corrected him, explaining he was actually witnessing the raw power of people's auras. Inspecting his own hands, he watched his aura flow with intense power. Eager for more, he picked up the second book, which contained the Tome of Affliction. This time, he linked the spell to his exsanguinator class. A bloody red torrent swirled from the pages, unlocking the powerful bleed skill. Noah proudly told Aurelia this ability allows him to cause devastating bleeding damage and even coat his weapons in it. He also realized he needed to consume an F-rank mana stone. Aurelia quickly warned him never to eat anything stronger, or he would suffer horrible mana poisoning. Gripping her arm, the sorceress explained that consuming a stone 2 tiers higher gives a temporary power boost, but quickly paralyzes the body, leaving you squirming on the ground like a dying worm. Eat anything stronger, and your body will likely explode. If you survive, the agony is unimaginable. Noah stared intently at the glowing crystal, absorbing her warnings, until she decided it was time to make their move. The duo pushed down the dark corridor. When Noah asked if they were escaping, Aurelia, wrapping a bandage around her arm, revealed she was hunting for a hidden room loaded with magical artifacts. She was desperate to find items belonging to a high-value target she was hired to track. Curious, Noah asked if there were still survivors trapped inside. She explained that the cult kept captives in a dungeon, where she was the final survivor. Even so, she warned Noah to keep his guard up since rogue cultists and monsters could still be lurking. As they crept further down the long corridor, Aurelia checked each room while our hero kept a vigilant watch behind them. She suddenly halted in front of a heavy door and asked Noah for the spatial storage bracelet. She slipped it on, channeling her flame to turn her fist into a makeshift lantern. Trust me, you and I are about to uncover some dark secrets as she reads the ancient writings on the wall. All right, let's dive in together as Noah uses his vision skill to read a script and wonders why humans commit such atrocities. But Aurelia, already hardened by the brutal life she lived, lists off all the dark reasons why human souls rot and corrupt, no matter what world they actually come from. Noah sees her deep distrust of humanity when she says evil is always a conscious choice. Suddenly, she bends down to light up a signal, spotting tiny stones that flicker like illusions and warning him they must leap over this hidden trap. Looking thoughtful, Noah asks Aurelia what happens to the innocent victims who never had a choice in the cult's plans. Lost in thought, she explains that the priestess of Hellion fought a 1,000-year war against the Abyss. But purifying people of this evil required a brutal, agonizing ritual that literally burned them alive. Worse, the Abyss cultists used public executions as extreme punishments, and the few broken survivors were never ever the same again. Furious and shaking, Noah asks what happens to the children forced into serving these monsters. Stepping past the thorn trap, Aurelia quietly explains that children are put down painlessly. Then she stops, pointing to a door ahead that is sealed tight with heavy magic. So she goes with brute force, smashing it with a fiery punch so bright Noah has to shield his eyes. They walk through, and he sarcastically notes that is one way to open a door. Inside, scattered books suggest this is a study room. Aurelia flips through a few dusty pages but sighs, figuring there is nothing of actual value left here. But Noah tries to think like the cult leader, guessing that if something truly important exists, it must be hidden elsewhere. He searches the shelves and finds a dusty book that triggers their Rhinites. Fortunately, it contains an advanced skill called Call of the Abyss, which can summon void beasts. Now pay close attention. Noah is tempted to equip this insane skill, but hesitates to focus on finding the secret area. So he starts pulling books off the shelf. When Aurelia asks what he is doing, he jokes about copying movie cliches. Amazingly, he finds a hidden lock and pulls out a key from his inventory. Turning the key reveals a massive secret room packed with ancient books. They walk triumphantly through the shelves, which are also loaded with strange alchemical artifacts. Aurelia is completely stunned by his luck, but to Noah, this is just like the classic adventure stories he always reads and watches. But the easy path ends when they spot a fresh trail of blood snaking deep into the dark chamber. Channeling her magic, the sorceress raises a finger to light up the room, revealing a long hallway lined with cells. The ominous blood trail continues forward, leaving a grim mark of suffering. Suddenly, Noah's system alerts him to a sinister secret quest called Blood Behind the Walls. He points into the dark and explains it to Aurelia, though he finds it weird that there are no rewards or difficulty listed. The sorceress stares into the darkness and mutters a warning, leaving our hero feeling incredibly curious. But Aurelia plays it safe, warning him to back off. She explains this place is far too dangerous, especially for a low F-rank awakened like him. Bending down to touch the blood, she notes that he should be out hunting basic monsters, not wandering through an abyssal cult's temple. Sensing the danger, Noah suggests heading back to town to recruit backup. But Aurelia refuses to run, knowing she cannot abandon the people trapped here or those hunting her. She reveals they were all brutally slaughtered. If she does not save their souls, they will turn into terrifying undead. Hearing this, Noah resolves to follow her no matter what, refusing to let her die. Aurelia blushes at his concern, even if she still thinks he is mostly useless here. Offended, the kid reminds her that he helped defeat Victrol. She chalks it up to beginner's luck but admits he has magic talent, which Noah secretly credits to his countless hours playing video games. Back on track, our duo encounters two gates, and Aurelia decides to take the left path. The narrow, winding corridor makes Noah uneasy, but Aurelia explains this defensive layout is designed to slow down any invading enemies. Let's pause here. These walls are reinforced with mana, making them unbreakable. But when they reach the next gate, Aurelia surprisingly just rings a bell. But the door is already open. Swinging it wide, they find a room littered with strange papers and ideograms. This is Victrol's secret research center. Searching the room, Aurelia knows his master plan is hidden here. The old man was trying to forge a chimera using high regeneration family members, sacrificing intelligence by fusing too many bodies into one. Noah uncovers a report where Victrol laments losing his second prototype, which gained void powers and high intelligence despite being unstable. Reading the files, Noah experiences the old man's memories directly, seeing Aurelia lying unconscious on a dark sacrificial altar as Victrol stands over her. Victrol begs the Void God for an E-rank sacrifice. Reading his system screen, Noah finally understands why the sorceress was targeted when she first arrived here. This completes the Blood Behind the Walls quest. Suddenly, a massive roar shakes the room, shattering their focus. Aurelia yells in panic for them to run immediately. Weapons are useless, she screams. But she suddenly freezes, kneeling beside a dying young man who gasps out that this will disappoint his master. Suddenly, they spot a massive silhouette locked in a cage. As light hits it, they see a grotesque, mutated experiment that the system labels the horror of grafted flesh. Aurelia realizes in pure horror that the bodies fused into this monster are the very prisoners who were locked up beside her. Our duo sighs in relief when the beast ignores them. But suddenly, one of the fused heads spots them, pointing directly at the master ring Noah is wearing on his finger. Enraged, the beast shatters its cage. Aurelia summons a massive wall of fire, yelling that the creature shall not pass. Noah leaps back as his system triggers a new quest to escape this vengeful monster. The beast charges, forcing our hero to dodge wildly while yelling for them to run. But the chimera wants absolute vengeance. Lunging forward, it wraps its tongue around Noah's foot, pulling him upside down. Panicked, our hero tries to trigger his blink ability. But his magic is suppressed in this position, leaving him helpless until Aurelia's fire blasts the monster's tongue, forcing the beast to drop him instantly. Landing quickly, he rolls away to create some distance while the angry beast locks its eyes onto the sorceress. Now Aurelia is targeted, and she realizes her fire cannot stop this regenerating beast. Suddenly, the monster transforms into a spiny lizard, releasing a deafening shriek. Noah covers his ears in agony until the system lets him resist. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see how they survive this fight. Stick with me, this beast shoots deadly quills, but Aurelia effortlessly dodges them all. Using her blazing fire magic, she charges right in to launch a massive fireball at the aberration, burning its soft, grotesque flesh like charred fruit. The sorceress rushes to Noah, asking if he is all right, but our hero can barely hear her over the deafening ringing in his ears. But the recovering beast catches them off guard, turning into a whirlwind that hurls sharp quills everywhere. Aurelia gathers every drop of her mana, launching a ferocious counterattack. She throws herself straight into a blazing spiral of fire, completely ignoring the danger to herself. Slicing right through the deadly whirlwind, her bracelet glows as she clenches her fist, unleashing a devastating explosion straight into the beast. It collapses as she retreats with a double backflip, while the fused bodies groan in agony as the flames roast their flesh. Noah watches in horror, paralyzed as he hears the trapped souls begging for release. Meanwhile, Aurelia closes her eyes, focusing deeply to draw out every ounce of her remaining mana. Raising her arms, she summons a massive wave of fire that completely incinerates the chimera. Yet Noah watches in disbelief as the beast somehow survives, forcing him to hold his guard. Now pay attention here as the monster screams in agony, a terrifying horn sprouts from its flesh, morphing into a massive, scaly dragon wing. The monster mutates into an even larger, terrifying beast with razor-sharp fangs, unleashing a deafening roar. The system identifies it as a ghostly whale, but Noah manages to partially resist its psychic terror. Even so, our hero collapses to the ground, completely dazed as the psychic dread heavily nerfs his attributes and skills. Suddenly, the mutating beast morphs yet again and lunges straight at Noah. He quickly triggers his blink ability from the Astral Wanderer path, dodging the brutal impact just in time. The beast then targets Aurelia, snagging her with its tongue before she can react. It then snaps its attention back to Noah, charging straight at him despite his active blink skill. Leaping to safety, he spots Aurelia knocked out against the wall. As the monster searches for him, Noah pulls his daggers from his inventory and drives them deep into the beast's back. Shrugging off the damage, the beast swings its massive tail. Noah triggers his blink once more, vanishing safely into the void. But his mana is critically low, forcing him to consume a rank F2S stone to fully recharge his energy. Now at full power, he unleashes a relentless barrage of stabs on the creature. Noah leaps back as the beast struggles to recover. With his mana dropping fast, he reaches toward the monster's spilling blood, activating his drain ability from the blood-sucking path. But the beast resists the drain and charges in a blind fury. Noah leaps onto its back again, landing rapid strikes, but they barely leave a scratch. Low on options, Noah retreats to consume a rank E stone, instantly boosting his energy by 200%. With his blink skill supercharged, Noah's stats skyrocket. Knowing he cannot waste this golden opportunity, our hero lunges forward to unleash his devastating obliteration power. Noah dances around the beast, dodging its jaws while repeatedly stabbing it with his daggers. His relentless speed is so intense that his active skill level jumps straight to Tier 3. Feeling his power surge, the young man focuses all his energy and delivers a final strike, sure that this will end it. But wait, the rank E stone power suddenly fades, and panic sets in. Nothing he does works. The beast lashes its tongue out like a boa constrictor, wrapping Noah tight. I know what you're thinking. This looks like game over for our hero, especially with his partner still knocked out. Then, the creature swallows him whole. But our hero refuses to go down without a fight. Trapped inside the stomach, he activates multiple skills to recover his energy and tears the monster apart from the inside out like a swirling hurricane. It actually works, and the beast collapses lifeless as an exhausted Noah climbs out of its bloody remains. With the beast's melted faces falling silent, Noah wipes the gross slime off his face and limps toward Aurelia. Meanwhile, the system celebrates his incredible victory, upgrading our hero's evolutionary paths. But after such a brutal fight, Noah collapses face first onto the cold ground. He receives a Tome of Vital Force as his reward, completing the blood absorption of the Chimera. Once the system finishes the upgrade, he forces his trembling hands to push himself back up. He quickly meditates to restore his depleted mana, but sudden, sharp chest pain strikes. He collapses once again, completely clueless about what is happening to his body. The system warns him of severe mana poisoning as his health points begin to drain. Aurelia wakes up and asks if he is all right, but he can only groan that he wishes he were dead. As our hero slowly recovers, the sorceress thanks him in disbelief, amazed that he actually defeated that monster and saved her life once more. Aurelia tries to apologize for being useless, but noticing his state, she quickly recognizes the mana poisoning. Sadly, she admits there is not much they can do right now. She explains that while painful, it is not lethal, and she actually knows a cure. Sitting in a lotus position, she instructs Noah to completely vent his mana until his pool is running completely empty. Noah follows her advice and begins purging his energy. The system scans his heart, showing his mana dropping to 0, which leaves his body incredibly weak. But within seconds, the toxic mana is entirely gone. As Noah lies there dazed, Aurelia reassures him that his strength will slowly return, but will take about 2 days to fully recover. Parched, Noah asks the sorceress for water or a recovery potion. She hands him a canteen, and without a second thought, our thirsty hero gulps down every single drop. Holding his new book, Noah realizes he needs a lot more skills to survive what's coming. As he scans the Life Force book reward, a golden glow envelops the dead Chimera, and the system unlocks a brand new skill. The golden light wraps around his body, linking the new Vital Force skill to his blood-draining path. Sensing the change in his aura, Aurelia can tell he just scored an amazing ability. Noah explains that he can now store extra life force to boost his blood on command. Hearing this, the sorceress grumbles about how unfair it is that he got such an overpowered skill. But to Noah, a world where magic solves everything is what is truly unfair. He sends the book to his inventory and receives a notification about acquiring an infinite potential fragment. He slips off the Ring of the Abyss Eye, muttering that he expected a lot more utility from its abilities during their fight. The system then alerts him that another mysterious, unnamed fragment is ready to break a seal. Noah finds these cryptic system messages weird, but Aurelia assures him that shrouded items are normal in rare cases. He taps confirm anyway, and suddenly a massive cascade of system windows floods his vision. It reveals his genetic code has been altered, unlocking a quest to find hidden memory parts scattered across the realm. Suddenly, a wave of sickness hits our hero. The system warns that he must undergo purification to complete his devourer transformation. Noah gags as dark slime pours out, but this painful purification clears all toxins and boosts his stats. That is where we leave it, trust me. You are going to want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are jumping right back in as Noah suddenly collapses, leaving Aurelia wondering what kind of crazy magical detox this mysterious guy actually needs. Once he wakes up, Noah hits the shower, desperately trying to figure out how a terrible workday turned into absorbing blood and pulling items out of thin air. Feeling completely refreshed, he dries off to check his system attributes, only to be totally stunned by the insane charm stats his new Devourer title has given him. Curiosity gets the better of him, so he activates his growth attribute, instantly feeling his power surge as 5 points are added to every single stat. Aurelia approaches looking exhausted, and Noah asks if she needs to bathe next. But the fully dressed girl claims she already washed, even though he cannot smell a single drop of soap on her. Flipping her silky hair, she guides him to the room, saying she washed earlier. Noah realizes he must have been knocked out for hours, but she insists they have already wasted way too much time. With a bright smile, she tells him there is somewhere else they need to be. As they exit the temple, Noah keeps teasing her about not bathing, so she decides to shut him up with a glare. Aurelia admits she absolutely hates the cold, while Noah mentions that falling snow actually brings back some of his favorite childhood memories. He even asks if she has ever tried ice cream, describing the sweet recipe, though a frozen treat does not exactly fit a fire sorceress. Their chat is completely relaxed until sudden, blinding sunlight hits their eyes. Aurelia looks completely alive again under the open sky, but Noah is utterly speechless. He looks up to find 2 suns burning in the sky and asks how they even tell day from night. Losing her patience, she snaps back, asking if he needs her to draw a picture or if he can understand that when the suns go down, it gets dark. She explains how their round world rotates and orbits, warning that the second sun actually realigns the planet's path. Now, pay attention here, because I do not think either of us truly understand this wild space science. But what really matters is the system notification popping up, confirming that their temple escape mission is officially complete. Noah spots something glittering in her hand and asks if she found her target. She holds up a simple, non-magical necklace meant to protect children from evil spirits, confirming her success. While Noah examines the piece she recovered from the dark dungeon cells, a new quest window suddenly flashes before him, ordering him to return this lost heirloom to the village of Lafar. He asks if she is tagging along for this quest, but a sudden gust of wind sweeps by, blowing through her freshly washed hair. She agrees but points toward their campsite as the suns begin to dip. Since this is his very first real quest, she wants him prepared, prompting Noah to give his master a sarcastic bow. But Aurelia is way too literal to catch his sarcastic joke. By morning, Noah gets a massive shock when she shows up leading 2 giant armadillos, claiming they will carry them through the woods. Noah looks at the massive beasts with pure terror, desperately hoping these giant creatures do not plan on eating them for lunch. Aurelia easily hops onto her mount, telling him to relax. She explains that these gentle plant eaters are completely harmless and love helping travelers. Still skeptical, he slowly approaches the beast, summoning his courage. Honestly, a guy who just killed a chimera shouldn't struggle with this, but he completely misses his footing and faceplants into the dirt. Aurelia laughs as she rides ahead into the forest. Deciding to use his skills properly, Noah activates his blink ability, instantly teleporting right onto the back of his stubborn mount. The beast starts bucking, but Noah manages to steer it forward, forcing it to follow her lead. Aurelia looks back, warning him that he had better hold on tight. Before he can react, his mount blasts forward, following the sorceress. The beast suddenly climbs straight up a tree, and Noah simply cannot hold on. Aurelia watches him plummet, but he quickly blinks mid-air to grab a nearby branch. Unfortunately for him, the wood snaps instantly, sending him crashing face-first onto a lower branch while she bursts out laughing. The sweet armadillo trots over to give our bruised hero a comforting lick. You and I can see how much fun she is having, showing a real, genuine smile for once. They push forward, leaping through the high canopy like wild forest spirits. A thrilled Noah mentions that he feels like he is flying on dragons, which makes Aurelia curious since his home world supposedly has zero magic. Noah explains that dragons only exist in their books, movies, and old legends, but they are definitely not real creatures. He tells her the closest things they ever had to real dragons were dinosaurs, but they died out millions of years before humans existed. Aurelia guesses those beasts were nothing like the legendary dragons who incinerated everything, though even in her world, they have not been seen for centuries, becoming mere myths. But she believes those myths were made up by powerful awakened elites to hide their own cowardly crimes against normal people, which basically sounds like an Illuminati conspiracy to Noah. He asks if she truly believes in them. Having encountered all sorts of beasts, she warns him that true dragons are nightmare monsters that easily crush the strongest warriors. They continue debating their existence. Noah gets a strange feeling that they have had this exact conversation before, though he cannot remember when. Suddenly, Aurelia picks up the pace, telling him they must travel on foot soon. Noah asks how much further the village is. The sorceress tells him they will arrive in 4 hours, using the travel time to explain the history of Arender to him. They ride down the main path until friendly shouting signals their arrival. Both Noah and Aurelia are totally surprised by the incredibly warm welcome from the locals. Noah asks if travelers are always greeted with this much love, but she calmly explains that this only happens in tiny, isolated villages. Heading down the street, Noah gets a massive ego boost, thinking it would be pretty awesome to spend a day as a celebrated hero, soaking up all the applause. Arriving at the inn, Aurelia pays a stable boy to look after the armadillos, handing over a leather pouch filled with mana stones. The smart kid double-checks to make sure they are genuine before leading them away. Noah is impressed by her generosity, but she tells him that tipping workers always pays off in the long run. She then uses the moment to warn him to keep a very low profile. He asks if he is in any danger. She explains that while famous adventurers might cause trouble, to a remote village like this, he is about as interesting as a common houseplant. She nudges him into the inn, repeating that if he just keeps his mouth shut, nobody will suspect where he really comes from. The innkeeper greets them warmly, asking how long they plan to stay. Aurelia replies that they only need 1 night, placing 2 mana crystals directly onto the wooden counter. He hands over the key to the last room on the 2nd floor. Aurelia passes it straight to Noah, mentioning she has some quick business to take care of around town. But Noah wants to explore and chat with the locals, thrilled to find people who actually do not want to murder him. The innkeeper stares in confusion while Noah frantically gestures to apologize under Aurelia's deadly glare. She slaps his chest to remind him of the word discreet, warning him to behave or face her wrath. And honestly, you and I know he had better listen to her. Let us dive into this wild journey where our hero actually enjoys working with a girl the local innkeeper thinks is way too rough. The innkeeper offered Noah a drink, figuring only fools or adventurers survive that lost forest. Noah, still feeling uneasy after his recent magical detox, hesitated for a second before deciding to take a sip and wet his dry throat. He yelled to the waitress to bring a mug of ale. Then, he asked for our main character's name, joking about his young face. Noah took the mug. Remembering Aurelia's advice to keep it simple, he admitted he just awakened yesterday. Naturally, the old man froze in shock. Curious, the old man watched him drink and asked why he was hanging with a high-rank adventurer, warning him not to die trying to impress her. Noah sighed happily as the drink went down. He told the mustache guy that he barely survived his awakening, getting lucky that Aurelia saved him. The innkeeper smiled, introducing himself as Lorien, and Noah politely shook his hand. Suddenly, the system revealed Lorien was once a warrior. The old man explained he retired after losing his magic in a terrible accident. Intrigued, Noah asked about his past foes, shocked that powers could just vanish. Lorien explained he was on a northern mission when something terrifying surged from the deep, catching them completely off guard. He described a strange, shimmering, translucent beast that paralyzed his entire squad. 2 allies died, another lost an eye, and his mana vanished entirely. Lorien sighed, never seeing that beast again. Suddenly, Noah's system warned his blood was getting poisoned. Asking for a weaker drink, Lorien guessed it was his special constitution skill. He told the boy he could simply toggle the skill off. Noah deactivated his vital blood skill and immediately ordered another round, ready to party. Lorien laughed, explaining that if he got too drunk, he could just turn it back on to instant sober and cure any hangover. Moments later, Noah hiccuped. System alert, level 2 alcohol poisoning. One more hiccup, he toggled vital blood back on and boom, completely clean. Noah asked about the missing villagers. Now pay attention here, because this is where the mystery gets real. Lorien sighed, explaining 2 searchers went inside 6 months ago but vanished, forcing the town to give up. They only tried searching again when the mines collapsed, but they failed once more. Lorien added that the mayor wanted to seal the mines, but locals protested since it was their main income for the harsh winter. Our hero pulled a mana stone onto the table while Lorian warned of zombie-like howls from the mine. Stepping outside, Noah stretched and realized if the guild got involved, the entire village might actually be evacuated. He began exploring the peaceful town until he overheard two locals arguing. Apparently, the mayor was still ordering the mines closed, even though one of the missing adventurers had just returned. As a crowd rushed to the town hall, Noah followed them inside, spotting the mayor in a heated argument with a local miner. The dwarf miner yelled that they would starve, while the mayor smoothly argued he was trying to save lives without guild interference. Turning to the growing crowd, the mayor assured them he was doing everything possible to keep the town safe. Aurelia watched closely until Noah quietly sneaked up behind her. She whispered that she was looking for clues about the adventurers who betrayed her. Noah suggested helping the locals, but Aurelia snapped. "I know what you're thinking. How's a newbie going to help?" Well, Noah decided to show her how real charisma works. Aurelia was stunned by the rookie's audacity as he pushed through the crowd, loudly declaring there was no need to fight since everyone wanted the same thing. While Noah pushed for a peaceful discussion, the miner leader interrupted, demanding to know who this insolent brat was. Using his insight, Noah grinned, ready to make a huge statement. Aurelia watched anxiously as whispers filled the room. Noah bowed gracefully, declaring himself a newly awakened adventurer ready to solve all their problems. He calmly explained they needed someone who could go into the mine and return alive, boldly volunteering himself for the dangerous task. The miner leader crossed his arms, asking why they should send a rookie to die. Noah instantly replied he wasn't going alone, pointing straight at Aurelia, who looked ready to strangle him. With no escape, the fire sorceress stepped up, claiming she was a high-rank adventurer whose mission was already connected to the mine. The mayor recognized Aurelia and her past squad. She agreed to help the village first. But Noah immediately jumped in, pointing out that they would need some fair compensation. The mayor politely asked what their price would be, and Noah inquired if there was a skill tome available in the village. The mayor admitted he had one, but it probably wouldn't satisfy him, suggesting he head to Windrest instead for much better adventurer gear. Aurelia agreed Windrest was their next destination. For this quest, a high-level mana stone would suffice, while the dwarf miner offered to guide them through his old tunnels. Noah shook hands with the mayor to seal the deal, and his system immediately updated with a quest of low difficulty. With the deal struck, Aurelia stepped aside to speak privately with the mayor. Meanwhile, the curious dwarf pulled Noah aside, asking where he came from since he seemed way too old to just be awakening. Noah explained he came from a magicless world and was simply lucky enough to awaken a path. Hearing this, the miner's face grew dead serious. The miner asked if he was from a dead zone, those mana-starved worlds where people drain the life from everything to survive their ruined homelands. Noah replied that while his world had some social issues, it was nothing like a desolate dead zone. The dwarf shrugged, saying if Noah actually solved the mine crisis, the village would be forever grateful. Noah shook his hand, promising to meet him early the next morning. Aurelia returned, revealing that their targets were likely in Windrest, and she had already sorted out Noah's official registration at the Adventurers Guild. Determined, the fire sorceress moved fast, clearly hiding a plan of her own. As night fell, they set out to return the necklace recovered from the cultist temple. Arriving at a quiet house, Noah knocked until an elderly woman opened the door, her eyes full of hope as if expecting Pierce to return. But her face fell when Aurelia held up the silver necklace. Recognizing Pierce's artifact, the tearful woman begged to know if the adventurers had found her son too. Aurelia silently shook her head, and the old woman broke down, clutching the necklace tight. Aurelia gently comforted her as another young girl appeared at the entrance. We leave our heroes as the daughter comforts her grieving mother. Trust me, you and I will want to see what happens on their next quest. All right, stick with me as our hero. Noah tells the worried family not to panic about the cash, promising they will keep searching the mines. Aurelia felt terrible for not doing more, but Noah, sensing her deep guilt, placed a comforting hand on her shoulder to ease the pain. With nothing left to do, they prepared to leave, but the grieving mother suddenly stopped them. Clutching the necklace tight, she begged for any details about her late son. Aurelia gently explained that local villagers were taken by abyss cultists for dark blood rituals, revealing that her entire squad barely made it out alive. Without Noah stepping in to rescue her, she would have died there. But while searching for survivors in those deep dungeons, they found Pierce's necklace. With a cold stare, the old woman asked if they took care of the cultists, and Noah confirmed he eliminated every single one of them. She wept, remembering the 14-year-old boy who was always too reckless, constantly running off to hunt monsters in the dark mines and forests. She admitted she always knew this day would come, especially since her own father was an adventurer too. Even though marriage kept him from traveling, the call of the wild never left him. Looking at his old photo, she whispered that her son inherited his father's wild spirit. No matter how hard she tried to stop him, she knew holding him back would only break his heart. Still, she had to ask, why are adventurers always like this? They both fell silent. Finally, Noah admitted he originally just wanted to survive this strange world and escape his dark past, but now, he actually loves the wild adrenaline. Staring at his hands, Noah explained that magic is highly addictive, drawing him to explore deeper. Hearing this, Pierce's sister instantly questioned what he meant by a new world. Just as he was about to reveal his secret of being reincarnated, Aurelia quickly nudged him to shut up. The old woman then stepped forward, placing the necklace in Noah's hands. Noah swore to cherish it forever, marking the quest of the lost memory as complete. They said their goodbyes, and as night fell, Aurelia suggested they finally get some rest. But Noah insisted on grabbing some food first, arguing that hunting on an empty stomach is a terrible idea. This got a laugh out of Aurelia, who joked that if she didn't know him better, she would think he was a seasoned pro. Heading back to the inn, they prepped for tomorrow's journey. At the entrance, their dwarf ally explained this mine was once a dungeon, but a massive collapse destroyed its core, leaving only an empty shell behind. A confused Noah asked if dungeons could actually die, and the dwarf confirmed it, though he called doing so absolute madness. A tamed dungeon is an incredibly valuable gold mine, which is exactly why entire kingdoms are built directly on top of them. Aurelia wondered if it might be a zombie dungeon, a massive threat that guilds are required to wipe out. But the dwarf dismissed it, calling it a normal wasteland ruin. Reaching the blocked entrance, Noah considered blasting through using his overpowered obliteration skill. Instead, they decided to play it safe and start swinging their pickaxes. Once the rubble cleared, Noah asked if the dwarf used his special skill, but the veteran laughed, saying decades of pure muscle memory is all it takes. Venturing deeper, Noah gasped at the glowing mana stones lining the walls. The dwarf noted they regenerated since nobody had mined here in ages. Aurelia quickly warned him to stay alert, reminding everyone that deadly threats could wake up at any second in these ruins. Taking her advice, Noah instantly summoned his daggers from his inventory. Ahead, the dwarf pointed out fresh tracks, warning that something was definitely roaming around. Soon, they approached a massive set of iron gates while Aurelia guarded their blind spots from behind. Unlocking the gates, the dwarf explained this used to be the main mining zone. Stepping inside, they froze. Several workers lay motionless near their tools. The party stood on high alert, sensing that whatever happened here was extremely recent. Pay close attention here because a terrifying scream suddenly echoes through the dark tunnels, sending the dwarf rushing forward while Noah and Aurelia yell for him to wait. Noah instantly triggered his blink ability, catching Aurelia off guard as they approached the end chamber. Slipping through the void dimension, he bypassed the heavy door, only to find a mangled, twitching body of a miner. Noah knelt beside the dying man, trying to comfort him while asking what kind of monster did this. But the miner was consumed by a dark curse, using his absolute last breath to scream at Noah to run. Right before their eyes, his body violently mutated, sprouting pitch-black void tentacles. Aurelia screamed, begging Noah to back away from the monstrosity. But as the levitating corpse mutated further, Noah realized this poor soul was fully possessed by the dark forces of Victrol. The game system flashed a hard difficulty warning, but Noah stood his ground, gripping his daggers. Summoning her flames, Aurelia yelled for the dwarf to fall back if he could not handle this. But staring in absolute horror at the beast, the dwarf could only nod. Shadowy tentacles burst from the victim, transforming him into an incredibly creepy abomination. Suddenly, the horrific monster lashed out. Noah blinked to dodge, but realized this freak could also navigate the void. Just then, Aurelia fired a massive fireball that scorched the beast's head. Thinking the blast vaporized it, Noah let his guard down until a thick, black fluid suddenly dripped right past his face. You and I can both see this werewolf-Medusa hybrid is absolutely merciless. Noah activates Blink again, knowing he has to lock in or get shredded. Aurelia launched another wave of fire, but the beast blocked it easily and snarled directly at her, flicking its hideous tongue. Aurelia stood firm, spotting a heavy rock atop a pillar. Using her fire magic, she levitated the boulder, igniting it into a blazing comet before launching it straight at the monster, landing a devastating direct hit. Seeing the monster crash to the ground, Noah rushed in, seizing his golden opportunity to end this nightmare. He plunged his daggers in, his eyes glowing crimson as he activated his blood drain ability. Despite the damage, the monster retaliated wildly, forcing our hero to jump back to avoid the counter. But as he drained its blood, a prompt revealed he was hit with necrosis poison, leaving him vulnerable to a barrage of heavy attacks. Noah quickly vanished back into the void while Aurelia waved her arms to distract the beast, but dripping blood gave away his position, leaving him at a critical 7% health. Luckily, he downed a resistance potion and leapt back into action, shredding the creature's tentacles with rapid dagger strikes. Aurelia channeled her mana, blasting the servant once more. It collapsed, but they had to finish it off before it mutated again. With the beast barely clinging to life, Noah activated Bleed on his blades and charged in. Terrified, Aurelia screamed for him to fall back, but he was already moving. Noah brought his daggers down in a flash, severing several tentacles with one perfect slash. But this boss is built different. Even dazed, it whipped its toxic limbs around, its eyes bulging out right before a massive explosion of sinister purple energy erupted. As debris flies, the system alerts critical damage and limb loss. But trust me, you and I are going to want to see how this 500% healing changes things. Alright, let's jump right back into the action where our main character Noah is literally kissing the ground, looking like he just lost a hand in a sci-fi movie. He's shaking, but instead of crying about his family drama, he's desperate to know why his healing power isn't fixing his arm. That nasty rot poison was spreading fast through his veins, so he literally shoved his bloody stump right into the system screen. Talk about desperate. But hey, it worked, boosting his resistance to level 2. Aurelia is giving it everything she's got, launching a massive fireball that burns as bright as the sun. But the monster just blinks away, dodging it as easily as Noah would. Refusing to back down, Noah clamps his dagger between his teeth and charges, headbutting the beast like a wild goat. He triggers his hunter's path and unleashes absolute obliteration on the spot. Noah fights like a cornered beast, literally biting the writhing tentacles in front of him. His poison resistance climbs higher and higher as he and Aurelia relentlessly double-team the monster. Finally, the sorceress tells Noah to step back so she can finish this. He gladly backs away because when a heavy hitter tells you to move, you move. While the flames engulf the chamber, Noah realizes the monster slipped back into the void. He gets a genius idea and yells for Aurelia to light up the room. Realizing the beast only travels through shadows, the sorceress raises her hands, channeling the most intense fire she can manage. Right on cue, they spot Victroll's creepy servant desperately crawling around, looking for any dark corner to hide in. This is Noah's chance. He drives his dagger deep into the monster's shoulder, but the coward slips into the void again. When it reappears, it's holding Jerome hostage in its massive tentacles. Noah yells at the dwarf to stop biting the tentacles, thinking fast. He reaches into his system inventory and pulls out the trump card, the letter scroll from the god of the void. Now watch this, because things are about to get incredibly tense. The beast stares as Noah speaks in a demonic voice, channeling the artifact he's bound to. His entire aura shifts as he activates his Void-born skill. As Noah speaks the words of chaos, the Medusa-like creature throws Jerome aside and charges. But Noah is ready, gripping his dagger and driving it straight through the monster's heart. The dying beast teleports one last time, dragging Aurelia down as it tries to steal her flame. Flames erupt everywhere, leaving Noah standing amidst the fire as the weakened monster collapses. Noah approaches the dying creature, where the young man trapped inside begs him to end his misery. Noah grants his final wish, draining the beast's blood into a mana stone, curing his own poisoning. With peaceful thank you, the young man passes away, triggering massive evolution rewards for our main character, including a sinister tome of abyssal summoning. Noah feels a wave of sadness for the poor worker trapped inside that horror, and Aurelia agrees it was a nightmare. Suddenly, the system asks if he wants to consume the fallen abyssal beast. Noah hits confirm, kneeling to absorb the beast's soul and tragic memories using his Devourer of the Abyss ability. It makes him gag, but Aurelia gives him a gentle pat on the back to help him recover. Through the link, Noah experiences the agonizing torment that the young kid suffered to become that monster. This fuels his deep hatred for Victroll and the lies their cult spreads to the people of Arendar. Filled with rage, Noah vows to wipe them out, unlocking an impossible hunter mission from the system. Sensing his dark mood, Aurelia approaches gently, suggesting they find a healer for his arm. She supports him as she leads him out of the chamber. Noah wakes up to soft music, noticing a ghostly, spectral hand where his stump used to be. He gets a smug good morning from Dylan, his annoying void assistant, and asks why they're in this modern-looking room. Dylan insists he already knows the answer. It doesn't take much for Noah to recall the brutal battle, Aurelia, and his severed hand. Dylan looks completely relaxed. You might be thinking the same thing I did, but Dylan actually finds this world fascinating. He loves that violence here doesn't need magic to look like an action flick, proving humans are naturally brutal. Noah ignores the philosophy, demanding to know how Dylan even got in here. Dylan explains his astral map is linked to Noah's soul, sharing all his memories. And since he doesn't know how long he'll be around, the assistant is busy soaking up as much human knowledge as possible. Noah gets annoyed that Dylan doubts his potential. Still, Dylan sarcastically congratulates our hero for surviving against the odds, which only irritates Noah further. Fed up, Noah grabs the remote off the floor and shuts off the television, convinced this creepy assistant is trying to mess with his head. Dylan just sighs, claiming he'd never sabotage him since it violates their pact. Besides, he jokes he can't wait to see Noah die, even though betting on how badly our hero will mess up is way too much fun. But Dylan is actually here for a reason. While Noah stares at his new spiritual hand, Dylan drops a truth bomb: Noah cannot destroy the abyssal cult. Noah mocks him, acting flattered that Dylan thinks he's capable. But the glasses-wearing assistant coldly clarifies that he actually doesn't believe in him at all. Noah glares back, snapping that if the mission doesn't break their pact, he's doing it anyway. Dylan asks what it would take for him to give up. He argues the cultists are still useful, even if they aren't directly linked to the void. But Noah shoots back, telling him to mind his own business. Dylan scoffs, saying every human has a price, and asks what Noah wants. He tries to convince him that in this world, one person's tears buy another's happiness. Dylan grimly warns him that whether he kills or protects, a mere mortal can never change how the world works. Noah angrily shoves Dylan's hand off his shoulder. He demands to know why Dylan is so afraid he'll succeed, arguing that using the void's power isn't inherently evil, unlike those selfish, power-hungry cultists who only care about themselves. Dylan dryly replies that's exactly how all humans behave. But Noah locks eyes with him, firmly stating that not everyone is a monster. Lacking a real argument, Dylan just points a finger at Noah, telling him he doesn't count because he's a total idiot. Noah fires back that he is the most important fool here, demanding to know why Dylan is protecting those worms. Before he even thinks about backing down, he wants answers on why this cult matters so much. The assistant takes a deep breath and explains that Noah has only seen the astral void, the source of his mana. But void creatures don't just stay there. Dylan explains that a piece of the void exists in their physical world, known as the abyss, fueling the cult's power. Inside this abyss, the void's power spreads by slowly eating away at reality, allowing terrifying creatures from the astral realm to finally cross over into the physical world. Dylan reveals the void grants strength to the cultists as they expand this abyss. Noah angrily accuses the void of handing out dangerous power to anyone without caring about the consequences. But Dylan couldn't care less what mortals do with that power. Furious, Noah demands to know why the expansion of the abyss is the only thing that matters, shouting for real answers. Remaining completely calm, Dylan explains that the void simply devours everything it touches. That is its sole purpose, and nothing more. And as we leave things here, Noah smashes a table in pure rage over the suffering of innocent children, while Dylan just stares. Trust me, we are definitely in for a wild ride next time. Alright, you and I are about to watch our hero refuse to back down, even after taking revenge for people he did not even know. Keeping his cool, the assistant grabbed the remote and demanded to know what would make Noah change his mind. But looking at the cracked screen, with the pack still binding them, our protagonist made it clear that absolutely nothing would stop him. He turned to leave the room, swearing to get justice for everyone sacrificed by the cultists, no matter how many years it might take to get it done. After all, the destiny of those abyssal creatures was tied directly to his own, giving him the power to rewrite their oath whenever he wanted. Noah grabbed the door handle, reminding Dylan that this dark authority came from their void pact. Then, he leaped straight into the astral space, determined to rewrite the destiny of those who refused to remain helpless slaves to the abyss for the rest of their lives. This was his brand new mission. Dylan did not try to stop him, but he knew the kid was walking straight into a deadly minefield. If the gods ever found out, their fury would destroy Noah Brown. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open back in his real body, lying on a bed, and his left hand was completely gone. Aurelia pushed the door open, looking relieved to see him awake. She mentioned the healer promised he would recover in a week, which was great news, even if he was down one hand. She chuckled and explained that he could easily get his hand restored for a high price or simply by raising his level. Noah took a sip of water, wanting more ways to regrow his hand, and asked if there was a library nearby. The sorceress figured the village might have one, and Noah explained he could prepare some useful tricks there to help them out later. Aurelia agreed, warning him not to mess with any dark magic. Ironically, since his abilities came from sinister roots, Noah could not make that promise. Now, watch closely, because she crosses her arms and asks if there is anything she should actually know about his suspicious powers. She made it clear she was incredibly grateful that Noah saved her twice, and his actions had been flawless. However, she warned that she could not keep covering for him just because things had gone well so far. She explained she could feel 3 distinct energies shifting inside his aura, mostly because he lacked the control to hide them. It was pretty easy to guess based on his magic. Even in a world this crazy, the sorceress assumed that having three separate power paths made him incredibly dangerous. Aurelia remembered his combat skills. No amateur fights that well, especially when dealing with a void cult. She realized no one ever backed down from any battle, showing absolutely zero fear in the face of death. Noah casually lied, claiming his high school martial arts classes had to count for something. Looking at his missing arm, he confessed he did not fully understand his own limits. He was just trying to survive in a strange world where everyone wanted him dead. Aurelia nodded, suddenly pointing at him. She decided to show him something she kept secret from almost everyone. Enveloping him in her blazing fire mana, she asked if he trusted her, or she would have to do something they would both regret. She needed to be absolutely sure they could travel together safely. Removing a ring from her finger, she explained that this magical artifact was the key and asked Noah to take a closer look at it. Unfortunately, Noah could not see any magical properties at first, but Aurelia urged him to try again. Noah discovered the ring was made from an ancestral dragon's frozen tears, giving the wearer a one-time emergency heal and teleport. Relieved, Aurelia admitted the comrades who betrayed her had no idea about this secret trait. "You and I both know he passed the test." She agreed, but admitted she was still deeply worried about his connection to the Void and that creepy scroll he had used twice. She questioned whether he was hiding his true identity, but Noah swore he was being completely honest with her. Even so, Aurelia still had lingering doubts. To ease her mind, the boy jokingly suggested she use a lie detector on him, even though she did not actually own one. Noah handed her a mana stone, telling her to press it to her chest to sense his energy. Instantly, a dark aura flared around him as he explained that the memories of his actual death had been wiped clean. He explained that he simply woke up in the void, which is how he got his class paths and the scroll, without any intention of ever hurting innocent people. Aurelia told him to stand and swear he was telling the truth. As he repeated the oath, a system notification popped up declaring him a man of his word, and a warm golden light washed over him. When Aurelia saw the stone remain completely intact, she finally trusted our honest protagonist. Noah was secretly amazed that his trick of faking the broken stone actually worked on her. Aurelia mentioned that only incredibly powerful aura masters could mask their nature, and even then, it was extremely difficult. Feeling much more relieved, Noah decided to do some useful chores, changing his bandages and tidying up his room. Then he strolled around the village and visited the library, hunting down books on how to regrow limbs. While a cool mechanical arm sounded fun, he ended up studying a wild, dark magic formula utilizing void parasites to completely rebuild his missing flesh. Closing the book, he realized it skipped the details on how to safely attach the parasite. He quickly grabbed another volume to research the dangerous beasts he was dealing with. Noah read that these parasites survive by feeding on their host's life force, devouring it to take control. Luckily, managing that side effect was not a problem for him. Having secured the reconstruction guides and confirmed he had enough life force skills to survive the feeding, Noah decided to start. Carrying the book, he headed down to a quiet basement where Aurelia was waiting to assist him with the process. Noah set down the book, using his system to absorb the abyssal knowledge and immediately jumped to level 25 mastery. Then, he grabbed a mana crystal and began drawing a ritual circle on the stone floor. He felt pretty proud of his drawing, even as Aurelia watched the strange markings with a worried look. Noah stood right in the center of the mandala, opening the tome as he began calling upon the void. The system instantly absorbed the data from the abyssal text, causing the ancient pages to tear free and circle Noah, kicking off the ritual. Deep inside the void, tiny parasites floated peacefully until a massive, terrifying worm emerged and began devouring the helpless creatures. Suddenly, a booming voice echoed through the dark space, summoning the beasts to bind themselves to a physical host. The excited creatures immediately rushed toward the call like a swarm of hungry bugs chasing fresh bait. The summoning array lit up in the dark rift, but one greedy little worm pushed past the others, completely ignoring the cue. A chaotic clash broke out among the abyssal beasts, but the clever little worm dodged their jaws and dove straight into the interdimensional portal. As it crossed over, concepts of loyalty flooded its mind, with one absolute command: always obey your master. Instantly, a bright light flashed in the basement as the creature manifested right before Noah and Aurelia. The worm raised its head, waiting to receive its very first order from its new lord. The little worm wriggled forward, knowing that disobeying its master meant being cast right back into the cold void. And trust me, you and I are going to love his new pet, Tony, as the creature fuses with Noah's shoulder, forming a brand new arm while sending a spike of pain through his body. The system instantly warned him of an abyssal parasite infection, giving our boy 1 point of fever. All right, you and I are about to watch Aurelia panic as she sparks her flames, begging Noah to stop the ritual. But our stubborn guy insists he's fine, struggling to tame this dark power. Suddenly, Noah collapses in agony, gasping to his new companion that his body is literally burning up. Luckily, a new skill triggers, granting him high pain tolerance. But the heat is so intense, he rips open his shirt. As dark energy fuses with his arm, his fever spikes up by 2 points. Aurelia approaches the curled-up boy, and Noah gasps that the parasite is draining his life force to rebuild his limb. But as another wave of agony hits, he realizes he desperately needs healing potions to survive. Noah collapses once more, leveling up his pain resistance yet again. He quickly sits to meditate and regain control, which triggers another evolution in his mental fortitude. Noah channels his inner guru, taking deep breaths to fuse with the beast while minimizing the agony. Once things finally settle, he can admire Tony, his newly restored limb. It's weird, though, because he can't fully control this shadow arm. Still, his fever breaks, and Aurelia quickly hands him a healing potion. He thanks her and chugs the liquid, while the sorceress checks if he's okay. Noah confirms the pain is gone, but notices Tony hasn't fully bonded yet. To be safe, he decides to keep his arm completely still. With dark void energy still swirling around the claws, Noah admires his new weapon, packed with heavy muscle, toxic glands, and surprisingly cute eyes. The parasitic arm hits level 6, officially making Noah a symbiotic human. As a bonus, the system grants him a 2-point boost to all attributes. While he inspects the arm, the system updates, and Aurelia admits she never expected this crazy ritual to work. Our hero smiles, explaining that's exactly why he did so much research, though even he's shocked by how well it went. Noah feels incredibly energized, like a kid who just scored 5 pounds of candy. But Aurelia warns him to hide it, since normal adventurers don't stitch monster limbs onto their bodies. Noah thinks his new limb is absolutely epic, but Aurelia is definitely not a fan of the monstrous look. Now, watch closely here. Tony's eye suddenly blinks open right on his palm, and Noah admits he still needs to train his creepy little friend. A curious Aurelia asks to pet it, and he promises it won't bite. She starts poking Tony, who immediately shivers and hides like a terrified puppy. Smiling, she admits a living weapon like this could actually be pretty useful. Usually, Awakens struggle to find gear that matches their tier, but she's confident that since this arm links to his astral map, it will steadily evolve alongside him. Noah's dying to test his new toy, so Aurelia suggests they head far from town before he breaks something. They march into the deep forest, where Noah stops right in front of a massive tree. Unleashing Tony's dark aura, our hero slashes the trunk with terrifying speed, leaving deep scars. Then, to test his limits, he injects a dose of venom that instantly starts dissolving the wood. Surrounded by the damage he caused, Noah glares at the tree with a wild, crazed expression. Aurelia yells that his left-handed swings are completely off and he needs actual training. But Noah is totally relaxed, figuring he just needs some time to adjust and coordinate with Tony. The boy is so obsessed with his new arm that he can't stop giggling at it. Aurelia just stares, unable to comprehend how anyone could be this thrilled about having a void monster's claw. But to Noah, this isn't just magic, it's pure style. He points out that wealthy lords would pay a fortune to look this cool, while Aurelia just crosses her arms, completely clueless about his taste. So, our hero starts lecturing the mage on all the different ways she could use the word. Aurelia still insists his world is bizarre, but Noah reminds her that they literally live in a land with fire-breathing dragons. While debating the weirdness of magical beasts, Noah spots a massive boulder. As Aurelia leans against a tree to argue her point, she doesn't notice our hero powering up his claw and sprinting toward the rock to play with Tony again. Even though he cracks the stone, Noah feels a sharp strain in his bones. Suddenly, his obliteration skill triggers, and he realizes void energy flows far more violently through his left side, meaning he must handle it with care. Noah concentrates and strikes the boulder once more, jumping with joy when he sees the massive crater he left behind. You and I both know she's totally done with this game, so Aurelia tells him they should sneak back before anyone misses them. But Noah can't stop grinning, driving the impatient girl absolutely crazy. Noah cracks a cheesy pun about hands, which is officially the last straw. Losing her cool, she blasts a burst of fire right at him to shut him up. But our clever protagonist instantly activates his void camouflage to dodge. He laughs and runs off, while the furious sorceress yells that he won't escape her next time. Back at the tavern, Lorian and Noah discuss the new arm. The boy is curious about what the locals are whispering, but the wise bartender advises him to just ignore the gossip. But Noah's ego is way too big. Smiling, he admits he loves the attention, sharing some of the wildest rumors he overheard from the villagers about how he acquired his monstrous hand. Playing along, he even gives some locals a quick scare just to mess with them, sharing a good laugh during this warm, friendly chat with the old bartender. Lorian asks how long he is staying, and Noah says they will head out in about 2 days, once Aurelia finishes sorting their travel logistics. The old man finds it odd that the girl is running the show. Meanwhile, Noah takes a quiet sip, fully aware that Tony is still constantly draining his life force. He clears his throat and explains it is much safer to let Aurelia lead than to get lost and freeze to death. Noah then slides a list over, asking for help gathering the items, but the bartender looks at it in horror, asking if he is trying to summon a demon. The keeper relaxes once Noah explains these ingredients are just for unlocking new skills. Smiling, the boy hands over a mana stone to speed up the process. The bartender sighs and shakes his head, so Noah piles on more stones, promising another batch by tonight. He finally exits the tavern with completely empty pockets, but a huge smile. Later, a delivery boy arrives with a cart, explaining that while they couldn't find every single item, everything is organized and neatly cataloged. Noah hauls his new materials down to the basement, met by Aurelia's cold glare. She is still holding a grudge over his morning antics. When he asks for a hand, she completely ignores him, and Noah just chuckles at her cute attempt to punish him. Staring at the strange items filling the shelves, Aurelia asks what he plans to do with all this junk. Happy to see her curiosity, Noah proudly states he is running some skill experiments, jokingly adding that no rabbits will be harmed in the process. Opening his inventory, Noah invites Aurelia to stand back and watch the show. However, the little rabbit looks highly skeptical of our warrior-turned-mad alchemist. Noah grabs a jar of black stones and tosses one high. But as he catches it, boom. He instantly slips into the void, shocking even the little bunny. When he returns, we discover he can teleport objects, and you and I know our ambitious hero is already plotting how to bring larger things over. Grabbing hands full of dark crystals, Noah keeps testing his limits, determined to pull them all into the void. Alright, you and I are diving back into Noah's wild dimensional experiments, where he suddenly notices a strange, lingering tension in his body even while trying to relax and read. To fix this, our protagonist opens his system and stashes the heavy stones into his inventory, realizing that carrying them in his hands drags down his teleportation speed. A quick test proves his theory right, allowing him to carry items effortlessly. Next, he grabs a heavy iron bar for a crazy balance check. Activating his blink, he drops the bar mid-travel, aiming to land right on top of it as he returns. Noah slips back into the void, practicing his balance by surfing on the metal bar. He even sits down in a lotus position, testing how physical objects behave on the other side. And get this, even while he is chilling in the void, the bar remains floating back in the real world. He teleports again, proving he can only carry things he actually holds. To test this further, he starts casually juggling random inventory items until he ends up holding a small box. Noah packs the box with rocks, kicks off his shoe, and tries to teleport while balancing the box on his bare foot. But it gets left behind. He explains to Aurelia that his teleportation only works on things he grips with his hands. Noah touches the wall to prove his point. Teleporting a whole house is impossible because he has to channel his own mana through an object to pull it along. Aurelia agrees, realizing this must be a fundamental law of his astral power. Aurelia points out that other powers might not have this limit. Now pay attention here, because we are about to see if his power works on living things. Noah gently takes a terrified little bunny from its cage, holds it close, and activates his teleport. Under Aurelia's shocked gaze, the rabbit survives the jump, proving he can actually carry living beings with him. Next, our main character tries the same trick with a jar of worms. But surprisingly, their collective life force resists the teleport so much that it drains him completely, forcing him to meditate. For the ultimate test, Noah invites Aurelia to join him on a trip to the other side, and she boldly closes her book, ready to go. Noah places a hand on her shoulder and tries to jump, but the system does not count that as holding. So, he tightly grabs the sorceress's hands, immediately sensing a bizarre shift in the air. A bright flash erupts, and despite his skill being at level 5, Noah's mana instantly bottoms out. They crash back into reality, both collapsing to the floor, feeling absolutely terrible. Noah drags himself up, totally drained, but glad to know he can rescue her in a pinch. Aurelia groans, claiming she would rather die than do that again, since it felt like her skull was splitting in half. Right on cue, Noah throws up and immediately feels better. Piecing his new findings together, our main character continues his experiments. He starts moving stones from the jar into his inventory, only to notice that the system is actively draining his mana. Noah does not give the poor bunny a break either. For the sake of science, he pops the rabbit right into his inventory. After waiting a bit while Aurelia reads, he pulls the rabbit back out. Seeing it alive, he figures the inventory either has oxygen, or it completely freezes time for whatever is inside. Pushing his luck, Noah asks Aurelia if she wants to test this out by jumping in next. I know what you were thinking, and yeah, the fierce sorceress absolutely refuses to budge, no matter how much he begs. Noah tries one last time, promising it will be quick. But her growing fury makes him back down, though he still demands to know why she is so against it. Aurelia admits she hates the pitch black, leading Noah to realize this powerful fire mage is actually just terrified of the dark. He teasingly accepts her excuse, explaining he only asked because he wanted to test the time freeze theory. Then he gets serious, pointing out that if she is ever mortally wounded, stashing her inside could save her life. It is a matter of survival, especially since they cannot afford to take stupid risks without knowing the exact limits of his skills. His speech is so convincing that Aurelia finally agrees, but only on the condition that she gets pulled out immediately. Otherwise, he is getting a fist to the face. Noah stashes the rabbit, grabs her arm, and shouts, "Fire witch, I choose you." But the system rejects her, saying the inventory capacity is exceeded. Noah collapses in disbelief as just trying to store her drains almost all of his remaining mana. Still, he realizes the system did try to activate, meaning storing her is actually possible if his mana is full. Aurelia slips away, hoping it never comes to that, and goes back to her books while Noah cooks up yet another test. He wants to see how fast his obliteration power can consume the stones, noticing his modified hand channels the energy way faster than normal. Noah infuses a stone with void energy and tosses it, blasting a massive hole right through the floor. Inspecting the crater, Noah wonders why his skills do not have a fixed mana cost. Aurelia explains that partial activation lets him bypass the standard minimum cost. Noah nods along while pulling the rabbit out of his inventory like a magician. Staring at the fluffy creature, he is positive that time freezes inside the system. He lets the bunny go, and it hops straight onto Aurelia's lap. The sorceress cannot resist petting the soft bunny, claiming animals always recognize a kind soul, but Noah ruins the moment by pointing a dagger at it, asking her to hold it tight so he can make a tiny cut. Aurelia instantly shields the pet with a glare that says, "Touch him and you are dead." Noah quickly explains he just needs to verify if his blood actually has legendary healing properties. If it fails, they can just heal the bunny with a potion. She finally agrees, and Noah promises the little guy will only hurt for a second. He makes a tiny nick on the rabbit's leg, leaving it dazed. Quickly, Noah cuts his own hand and lets his blood drip onto the wound, which miraculously heals it instantly. Noah stares at his palm in utter disbelief, while the bunny hops over to eagerly lick the leftover blood from his hand. Aurelia warns him never to reveal this power. Distracted, Noah asks why, and she reminds him that he is now a walking recovery potion. If he does not want to end up caged as a human healing machine, he must stay silent. Shaken, our favorite healer promises to keep quiet while the little rabbit begs him for another taste of blood. But Aurelia ends the session, releasing the bunny back into the forest. The little guy looks incredibly offended after contributing so much to the pursuit of science. And that is where we leave it. But trust me, that little bunny is never going to look at normal grass the same way again. Alright, you and I are about to watch the wildest bunny journey ever. After realizing these humans had a lot to offer, our evil rabbit found a sweet little girl picking flowers and decided to make his move. The little beast rubbed against her leg, and the sweet girl fed him a leaf in return. He happily munched it down, pretending to be a harmless pet right there in the middle of the woods. But even as she petted him, the dark hunger inside him craved that sweet crimson juice only humans possess. He climbed up her lap, acting cute, so she held him close to keep him warm. But when she tickled his nose, the little monster actually ended up sneezing. She decided to bring him home, leaving him thrilled by all the human prey waiting inside. She burst through the door to show her mom. But the mother instantly frowned, asking what on earth that thing was. She insisted it was just a cute bunny from the woods that she wanted to keep. Her mother sighed, sensing immediate trouble, while our evil little pet was already planning to feast on their blood. Rejecting the idea, the mother ordered her to take it back to the wild. But the girl whined, lifting him up to show off his adorable face. Unmoved, the woman snatched the bunny and marched straight to the door. The little girl followed, throwing a huge tantrum, but her mother ignored her completely. The door slammed shut, leaving him rejected once again. Talk about society rejecting a poor soul. But he refused to quit, scratching at the door and begging for his favorite crimson strawberry milkshake. Left all alone, he shed a single tear, feeling betrayed by the cruel world. But he quickly got over it, hopping away to find another human target to exploit. Now, watch closely, this is where he heads into town and targets a bald guy. The man picked up the cute bunny, while his mustache friend recalled seeing the rabbit with a little girl. The bald guy licked his lips, saying rabbit meat was delicious, and that he might just cook him up. Sensing the danger, our little hero snapped. He bit the hungry man's finger hard, making him scream as blood sprayed everywhere. Meanwhile, Aurelia returned to the training room and found Noah tweaking his system alerts so they would not distract him in combat. She mentioned most adventurers prefer keeping all their notifications in one spot, so Noah created a virtual mailbox and dumped all his alerts into one folder. He then started examining his attributes, since he still did not quite get how they actually functioned. He focused hard to find some answers, feeling like his brain was literally melting, until the system finally popped up with a reward. Noah gained a new soul-modifying skill along with sub-attributes that left him totally baffled. Aurelia then reminded him that the guild would evaluate all of this during registration. Still annoyed by the lack of details, Noah tapped the screen to check the strength attribute. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through his neck. Looking at the complex anatomy symbols needed for magical growth made his head spin, and he completely blacked out right then and there. Back to the bunny, he leaped away from the bald man with blood smeared on his snout. He grumbled that this guy's blood tasted spoiled, lacking the sweet flavor of his previous victim. He was furious. He needed his fix of quality blood. Suddenly, a wild predatory instinct kicked in, and he decided to hunt down furry animals like a wolf on the prowl. Let's pause here. Look at this squirrel doing stretching exercises. Our killer bunny spotted it and charged, fueled by pure malice. The terrified squirrel bolted, wondering why a bunny was chasing it. It zipped up a tree trunk to escape. Annoyed, the rabbit gave up and looked for bigger prey, quickly spotting a wild pig happily munching on apples. With glowing red eyes, he leaped at the swine, sinking his razor-sharp teeth deep into its hind leg. The pig squealed and kicked him away, sending our weak little rabbit tumbling. He was bruised, but his wounds rapidly healed. Feeling better, he noticed another bunny peacefully eating leaves. His red eyes gleamed, realizing this unsuspecting target would never view another bunny as a threat. He hopped over, and they shared a cute sniff before the friendly brown rabbit turned to say goodbye. But that dark instinct flared up again, and our killer pet leaped at the poor creature without hesitation. Even after the feast, he wanted more. He devoured his fallen brother completely, unlocking a cannibalism status along with a few crazy evolutions. Thanks to the system, he gained the option to evolve into a true killer rabbit. Meanwhile, Noah visited Aurelia's room, where she apologized for the messy papers everywhere. Looking at the messy notes, Noah realized she was far more dedicated than he originally thought. Aurelia explained she was planning their path to Windress, but they first had to trace the steps of the traders to make sure they could proceed safely. Noah got it, taking the chance to ask her about sub-attributes. Realizing he wanted to become a real adventurer, the sorceress smiled and told him to pay close attention. He sat down as she grabbed a sheet of paper. Aurelia started drawing, and though her doodle looked like a rotten apple, Noah appreciated the effort. She explained that the little drawing was actually Noah, and the circle surrounding him represented his soul and his overall magical aura. The more he trained, the more room his soul would have for the 4 hidden sub-attributes of each stat. She noted that a rank D adventurer with high strength could still lose to someone with unlocked sub-attributes, but advised him not to stress over it just yet. He still had a lot to learn. She mentioned they would cover sub-attributes during his guild evaluation, leaving our hero feeling pressured as he asked why they even needed one. Aurelia stressed that it was super important, but cut herself off because it was finally time to hit the road. An hour later, the duo departed with the mayor's warm thanks and 2 free horses. He smiled, promising them that the village doors would always remain open. They waved goodbye and set off toward the City of Winds. But with the twin suns blazing fiercely, Noah was already struggling to endure the long horse ride. Noah begged for a quick break, but Aurelia insisted they push through. He complained about the brutal heat, and she explained the suns get closer every 15 days. While she loved the weather, Noah desperately wished he had ice magic to cool himself down. Aurelia mentioned he could gain heat resistance by boosting his constitution. Right now, Noah just wanted a breeze. The climate here was incredibly erratic. One minute they were in a lush forest, and the next they were crossing a scorching desert. She explained the weather matches the dominant local mana, which was why this specific area felt so dry. So what do you and I take from this? Pray they avoid solar mana zones. Noah shielded his eyes, hoping their path wouldn't lead to more heat-filled regions. All right, you and I are about to watch our rookie get roasted by Aurelia, who laughs and warns him to hydrate before they take a break to cool down. Noah, already half melted, grabbed his canteen and chugged some water. Suddenly, Aurelia spotted something far ahead. Blinded by the heat, Noah couldn't make it out, but he heard her say they needed to move fast. They rode hard toward a man driving a carriage. Passing by him, the friendly coachman waved and smiled, asking if they were adventurers sent by the guild. Noah and Aurelia shared a quick look before she replied that they were just simple adventurers heading to Windress, asking if something had gone wrong up ahead. The driver explained that a massive landslide blocked the valley, and who knew when a geomancer would show up to clear it. Still, our heroes press onward to inspect the giant boulders blocking the road. After checking their map, Aurelia pointed out a much more dangerous shortcut. She refused to camp out in the creepy woods, deciding they would just ride straight through the night. Noah thought she was losing her mind. Even the coachman gasped when they mentioned the Serpent's Grove, leaving Noah wondering what made this place so terrifying besides the scary name. The man warned them that rumors of a deadly worm haunted the grove. Even though they were adventurers, he begged them to turn back. But to a powerful mage like Aurelia, that was just silly talk since she felt zero mana around. Not even a weak beast, let alone a giant worm. But then, they spotted a desperate couple holding a sick child, waving frantically for help. Aurelia tried to ignore them, but Noah couldn't look away from the man, whom the system flagged as a sculptor desperately begging for safe passage through the woods. The man explained that his son was burning up, and they needed to reach Windrus immediately, offering whatever reward he could gather to save him. Noah confirmed his class, and the man introduced himself as Lion, a sculptor for the mayor of Altius. As they approached, the father admitted the boy was so sick that only a rank C healer or higher could save him. Now, pay attention here. Noah kneels to check the kid's burning fever, and Aurelia, knowing exactly what he's about to do, pulls him aside to talk privately. Stepping away, Noah asks why she wanted to abandon them. Aurelia argued that the city of Lafar was closer, but Noah snapped back that the kid needed a rank C healer. He brought up using his own blood to heal him, but Aurelia shut that down immediately, warning him of the terrible consequences. So, the young man decided they would escort the family to Windrus. Leon thanked him endlessly as the system popped up a new, high-difficulty quest with a hidden reward. The father told his wife they were moving, but before they left, Noah handed them a small vial of red liquid. Following Aurelia's warning, he had only used a tiny drop of his blood to hide its true power. Diluted in the jar, the blood looked completely ordinary. Shia, the mother, gently showed the medicine to her son, promising it would make his fever go away. The kid stared at the vial with absolute disgust. Noah smiled, promising he would get his family to the city safely and that this medicine would help him make the trip. The boy, Arios, hesitated for a second before gulping it down. Aurelia, already mounted on her horse, dryly called out that they needed to get moving since they had a long way to go. They rode through the cool, quiet forest. Aurelia, carrying the mother and child, explained that taking a right turn up ahead would lead them straight to Windrus. If they pushed through the night, they would arrive by dawn. Noah nodded, riding ahead with the boy's father. Curious, Noah admitted he had never heard of Altius, but Leon explained it was a quiet western city situated right near the edge of the Lost Forest. Our hero asked more about his work as a sculptor. In response, Leon pulled a small wooden teddy bear from his bag, proudly calling it his signature specialty. Noah watched in absolute awe as the little toy began to dance right on Leon's palm, who explained the mayor hired him to build guardians for the city. Astonished, our young hero asked how the wooden bear was moving, and Leon revealed it was a special skill allowing him to animate and control his sculptures. Meanwhile, Aurelia pointed out to Shia that rank C healers were incredibly rare and expensive. The mother explained they had sent letters to a group with one, who agreed to help. Let's pause for a second. Aurelia asks if it was the Iron Fists, but the mother says it was some group called the Just Light. The father thanked them again since Arios had been sick for a week. With trembling hands, Leon mentioned that many children in their town were suddenly falling ill due to rumors of a curse or plague. Noah was shocked, and Leon added that even the elders were affected. Shia, who was also a midwife, whispered that every baby born this past month was incredibly weak, leaving the townspeople completely helpless. A furious Leon added that they had spotted increased activity from Abyss cultists, as if these demon worshippers were sending more dark priests than usual. At those words, Noah and Aurelia listened intently, knowing exactly what kind of danger this meant. Shia admitted she wanted to leave the city once her son recovered, but Leon reminded her they couldn't just abandon the mayor after everything he had done. Suddenly, an unnatural darkness blocked out the sun. Noah looked up, activating his Void Hunter eyes, while Aurelia ignited her hand, praying her worst fears weren't real. An eerie voice echoed through the trees, freezing them in place. The sorceress yelled at them to run, and they rode off at breakneck speed as a zombie bear emerged. They galloped desperately until the horses suddenly stopped. Noah asked if this daytime darkness was normal, but Aurelia, looking highly apprehensive, dismounted and stared into the black sky. She leaped high into the trees, screaming at them to get moving. Meanwhile, Noah, with his hunter vision active, stared in absolute horror at the sky. Aurelia dropped back down, confirming her worst fears. She ordered everyone to abandon the horses immediately and continue on foot. She slapped the horses, sending them running off. The group began sprinting down the road. Mid-stride, Noah asked what was happening, and Aurelia shouted that it was an eclipse. Noah squinted up at the sun, only to get a hard elbow from Aurelia, who barked at him not to look. When he asked why, she quickly explained that when the sun and moon aligned, absolute darkness ruled the land. Elsewhere, a wild rabbit was chosen to become a killer under the eclipse. Under the observer's gaze, the system notified him as a dark, evil spirit completely consumed the creature. The sorceress's fiery eyes clashed with the darkness, which commanded its new servant to spread madness. The sinister rabbit was instantly corrupted by the observer's chaotic power. During an eclipse, monsters go into a frenzy, and hordes of zombies rise again. Aurelia warned, grabbing Noah's arm. They needed to find shelter before they were hunted down. And that is where we leave them, fleeing into the dark while the observer judges every soul in its path. Trust me, you will want to see what happens next. Noah felt the chilling danger from the system warnings, wondering if the others could feel this terrifying presence too. All right, you and I are diving right back into the action as some creepy presence watches them, prompting Aurelia to beg Noah to keep the family safe. Suddenly, a massive zombie bear lunges at her. Aurelia screams, blasting it with wave after wave of intense fire, but the beast barely flinches. Keeping the group covered, Noah draws his twin blades with a cold, terrifying gaze, shouting for everyone to run. Just then, a hidden serpent slithers from the shadows, but his sharp eyes catch it instantly. With one lightning-fast slash, he slices the snake in half. While Aurelia keeps battling the undead beast, Shia watches in terror, completely missing a decaying hand crawling right toward her. The zombie lunges, clamping its cold, rotten fingers onto her leg. Shia screams, desperately struggling to shake the monster off while tightly holding little arrows in her arms. Noah rushes over, throwing his dagger straight into the monster before quickly putting it down for good. He then gently catches the trembling Shia, but her ankle is already deeply wounded. Realizing the danger of her turning into an undead monster, Noah slices open his own palm without a second thought to stop the infection. He places Tony on the wound, promising she will heal. Meanwhile, Leon proves he is no bystander, summoning his teddy bear to grow massive and clash with the zombie beast. Asia feels her pain fade and, leaning on Noah, retreats to safety. While Aurelia and the giant toy battle the beast, dark shapes begin gathering in the distance. The sorceress gets a terrible, sinking feeling. They sprint away from the horde. With incredible agility, Aurelia leaps onto the massive bear, pulling Noah and the family up with her. They ride hard through the chaos until Liam spots a cave that could shield them from the eclipse. Aurelia rains down fireballs to keep the undead back as they charge straight toward the sculptor's cave. The dead burn with every blast, but suddenly, an agile zombie leaps right at our heroes. Sporting rotten skin and furious eyes, this undead boy tackles Noah off the giant bear. Noah desperately struggles to break free, until Aurelia's flames suddenly consume the creature's head. Instantly, our hero activates his blink skill, teleporting safely back onto the giant bear behind the terrified family. Everyone looks at him in sheer panic, and the sorceress asks if he was bitten, but Noah assures them he is fine. They finally reach the cave, but as the giant bear skids to a halt, Noah loses his grip and tumbles off. Looking at the cave entrance, Aurelia realizes the zombies are suddenly hesitating and refusing to advance. Now pay close attention, because a cold sweat drips down Leon's face as he realizes where they actually are. Out from the pitch-black darkness, a colossal beast with glowing eyes slowly starts to emerge, while Aurelia remains completely unaware. Trapped right between the zombie horde and the glowing eyes in the cave, a heavy dread washes over Aurelia. Suddenly, a massive dragon snake emerges from the dark, projecting an overwhelming aura of pure terror. The pressure is so crushing that even Noah loses all hope of surviving this encounter. Paralyzed by fear, it looks like game over. While the adults struggle against this godlike pressure, little Arios bursts into tears. The massive dragon slowly slithers out, sniffing the frozen group. Drowning in despair, Noah hates that he cannot protect the child. But right before his eyes, the unthinkable happens. The terrifying dragon actually takes a liking to Arios, who gently pets its snout. It turns out pure innocence was the key. Amazingly, the beast gifts the boy a glowing scale, instantly dispelling their paralyzing fear. I know what you are thinking, talk about insane luck, right? Relieved, they watch the beast return to guard its egg, letting them stay until the eclipse ends, leaving Noah and Aurelia completely speechless. Feeling deeply grateful for the dragon's maternal mercy, the group quietly waits in the cave until the dark twilight finally passes. Once it is safe, they leave the cave to set up camp, with Leon volunteering to gather firewood. staring up at the sky to make sure this is not a dream. Noah suddenly unlocks a touch of destiny, boosting his luck. He slowly accepts that this fantasy world is becoming his true reality. After falling asleep, Aurelia gently wakes him up to take over the night watch. Noah gets up, stretching after some solid rest. Leon points out that Noah's constitution is incredibly high for his level, meaning he requires far less sleep to fully recover than normal people. Curious, Noah asks if Leon ever sleeps at all, but the sculptor chuckles and says he only needs short naps. Gesturing to his teddy bear, the sculptor explains that it took some damage during the battle, so he prefers using his downtime to fix it. Noah admits he is amazed by the toy's craftsmanship. Leon explains that Cub was his very first creation, allowing him to control its size at will. Fascinated, Noah asks if the doll can feel pain despite not being alive. Leon is amused by Noah's worry but assures him the doll feels nothing. Still, he muses that keeping Cub in his giant form permanently might actually give the toy a better life. Noah notes how much Leon genuinely cares for his creation, making the sculptor blush. He admits his ultimate dream is to carve a sculpture completely indistinguishable from a living being. Pondering his own strange connection to the void, Noah asks if such a feat is even possible. The sculptor admits probably not, but vows to never stop trying. Noah pulls up his blue system profile, smiling when he sees that several of his basic attributes have increased. Swiping his finger across the holographic screen to study his skills, he is thrilled to discover his terror resistance has officially evolved to level 3. He quickly connects the dots. This powerful upgrade was triggered by surviving the terrifying cave dragon. After applying the upgrades, his experience bar instantly shoots up. Noah enthusiastically celebrates this massive stat boost, but his body suddenly begins to violently tremble and freeze. Watching this, Leon facepalms at our hero's total lack of experience with system evolutions. The sculptor walks over, advising him to rest, but the stubborn young man insists he is perfectly fine despite his body shaking. But Leon calls him out immediately, explaining that the sudden, massive jump in his aura has overloaded his physical vessel. As Noah struggles to stand, Leon tells him to sit down and meditate while he keeps watch. Fighting through the pain, our hero regulates his breathing, slowly entering a deep trance to balance his wild energy. His mana regeneration skill instantly upgrades to level 2, rapidly refilling his pool to 100%. Leon quietly monitors the boy as his breathing finally returns to normal. He then takes the opportunity to explain how to properly balance stats, preventing another dangerous energy surge. Rubbing his chin, Noah processes the advice and opens his system, activating a skill that channels mana to detect life force. Suddenly, a vibrant green energy erupts, completely surrounding his vision from all directions. Blinking back to normal, his eyes land on the sleeping bags. He notices Shia and Arios resting peacefully with the dragon scale, realizing that the massive energy source is radiating directly from it. Noah quietly asks how the little guy is holding up, and Leon smiles, saying the fever has fully broken and things are looking good. Our hero warns him to keep the scales safely hidden due to its massive life force. The sculptor agrees, deciding he will turn a piece into a protective necklace while leaving the rest with the boy. And that is where we leave them as morning breaks. The group prepares to march, hoping to reach Windress before dawn while the monsters are still exhausted from the eclipse. Alright, you and I are diving right back in as Lean heads off to wake his family, leaving Noah to check on our favorite sorceress, who insists she is doing just fine despite the chaos. Honestly, she is still totally shaken up by how incredibly lucky they were to survive that terrifying encounter with the dragon. Meanwhile, Lean goes over to wake his wife, giving our heroes a suspicious look before telling her they need to go. The sculptor takes the dragon's scale, claiming he will keep it just to be safe. As they travel on, Noah worries about Aurelia's odd behavior. By the next day, they spot a massive, walled city while strange pilots glide through the sky using a winged mechanism. Noah is blown away, thinking they are giant eagles. But Aurelia explains these are feathered gliders powered by wind mana, allowing them to soar across massive distances. She promises him that flying feels absolutely incredible, and she will gladly show him how it works the moment they finally step foot inside the city. Our main character notices there is no entrance gate and wonders if they are lost. But Aurelia simply points to a massive moving elevator on the wall, leaving him completely speechless. They hop onto the lift, and Noah looks around like a kid at a theme park. That is, until the lift suddenly shoots upward, unlocking a brand new fear for him. Once his panic subsides, they enjoy the gorgeous view from the top of the wall. But entering the city means security, and Aurelia realizes she does not have her adventurer badge on her. While they walk, Lean stops the adventurers to express his gratitude, handing over some incredibly valuable level C mana stones as a generous reward. Hisha thanks them too, feeling hopeful for young Arios, who is playing happily in her lap, completely amazed by the giant city. The heroes look at the stones in absolute disbelief, knowing this is an insanely high payment. But hey, pay attention here, this generous reward is going to make their next moves a whole lot easier for them. At the security gate, Noah places his right hand on a testing stone to identify himself. Once the rock glows, the guard asks if he belongs to any of the three cults, but Noah quickly shakes his head. Writing down the info, the guard asks if he has a criminal record, which Noah denies. Once cleared, he steps through and finds Aurelia already disguised in a hood. Right then, his system updates his completed quest list, showering him with more epic rewards. He immediately checks his profile, ignoring Aurelia's annoyed sighs as he stares blankly at his system screen like a phone addict. Among his loot is a stone that acts as a dimensional pocket, which is basically a massive inventory upgrade. Stopping by a massive balcony, Noah is visibly hyped to start his official adventuring career, making his mentor proud. Aurelia then leads him over to try out the city's flying gliders as promised. Before they take off, she puts on a mysterious mask that the system flags as a voice-altering veil. Noah finds the disguise pretty creepy, but it is a necessary precaution. For Aurelia, wearing a creepy mask is way better than getting caught by her old merchant enemies. They step out onto the launching platform where plenty of other citizens are enjoying casual flights. Standing at the edge, Noah's legs start shaking violently as he looks down at the terrifying drop. Aurelia tells him she will jump first and advises him to follow whenever he feels ready. Noah stays completely frozen, gulping down his fear with a nervous grin. Aurelia dives off the ledge like a majestic bird of prey, leaving him stunned and suddenly motivated to make his leap of faith. The wings deploy, giving him a quick shock, but he summons his courage and takes a few steps forward. He leaps off the platform, feeling the wild wind rush against his face, but onlookers stare weirdly at his clumsy flying posture, and Noah quickly realizes something is definitely off. Luckily, he recalls that the instructor said the wings operate automatically using the air mana stone inside his gear. He manages to find his balance and finally starts enjoying the cruise. Seeing him enjoy the ride, Aurelia admits she missed flying, but tells him they need to hurry to the Adventurer Guild headquarters. Noah takes off, passing the sorceress and joking that the loser pays for dinner. But wait, I know what you were thinking, and yep, things are about to go horribly wrong. He realizes other gliders have joined their little race, so he uses his blink skill to gain a massive lead. Suddenly, his glider wings snap right at the main joint. Noah panics, screaming as he hurtles straight toward a nearby vegetable garden. He triggers his blink skill again to cushion his landing. But the poor garden is completely destroyed anyway. Hey, at least he survived the crash. With their flying adventure over, they head to register at the guild, only to hear a loud scream echoing from inside the building. Suddenly, a random guy is launched right out of the doorway. If Noah had not blinked out of the way in time, he would have been smashed like a bowling pin. A massive, buff lizardman steps out, growling at the guy to get lost. Aurelia facepalms in pure embarrassment, remembering that this terrifying beast is actually the local guild master. The giant lizard walks up, demanding to know what they want. Noah quickly explains that Aurelia brought him to register as an adventurer, which forces her to reveal her face. The giant then roars out the receptionist's name, Nay, announcing to the entire hall that they have a fresh newbie in the house. In total contrast to the scary monster, a tiny, adorable girl appears to greet them. Noah looks down to find she barely reaches his waist, before she warmly invites them inside. Noah follows her inside, only to freeze when he sees a bunch of tough, muscular guys knocked out cold across the floor. The little girl tells him not to worry since it is just sparring day with the master. She assures him they only had a 5-minute brawl and these guys are not dead, just way too exhausted to stand. Noah does not find the joke very funny, but he approaches the reception counter where the girl asks if he knows how registration works. Noah shakes his head, secretly wondering if she is too young to work here, but as a half-celestial, she is actually way older than him. Aurelia cuts in to ask for a replacement adventurer plate, explaining she lost hers during a rough mission with the Iron Fists. The girl asks for a second to double-check. After browsing through her bookshelf, she confirms that a replacement plate will cost 12 level F mana stones. Aurelia pays the fee and grabs her brand new adventurer plate, while the girl asks if she needs any further help. The sorceress gives her the green light to sign Noah up as a rookie, adding that since he is new to the kingdom, she should explain the basic rules. Noah looks a bit stressed, but Aurelia reassures him it is just a standard safety formality, similar to getting a basic citizen identification card. Nay explains that while other cities force foreigners to pay taxes or swear loyalty to local lords, registration here is totally free. But since Noah does not have any paperwork or factions, they will need to create a fresh profile. She hands him a registration form to fill out, which Noah reads using his handy system interface like an interactive translator. While Noah reviews the contract terms, Nay tells him to take his time reading it. As he enters a private room to place his hand on a testing stone, you and I are left waiting to see what crazy class he unlocks. All right, you and I are diving right back in as Noah stands before the sacred runes, flatly denying any cult ties. But Nay reads the glowing stone and calls out his half-truth, demanding a real explanation. Sweat pours down our hero's face as he desperately scrambles to explain his actual, bizarre nature without blowing his cover. So, he just spills it all from his sudden reincarnation to destroying that void experiment in the mines. The wide-eyed receptionist clears her throat, simply asking for the next question as if nothing happened. Aurelia watches closely as Noah plays it cool, claiming he is neutral toward the people of Arander, but is still totally willing to lend a helping hand. They hand him a checklist of evil pathways to see where his loyalties lie. But even though our boy is fully aligned with the Void, he is clean of any sinister factions. Staring at the glowing artifact, the little receptionist notes they are almost done, but a sudden flash of worry crosses her face. Suddenly, a bell rings and the guild master stomps in, apologizing for eavesdropping on their little chat. Noah stares at the massive, imposing lizard man, who rumbles in a deep voice, asking if our hero is actually an outsider. Gulping down his panic, Noah nods in confirmation, half expecting to be thrown out of the building on his head. Instead, the Dragonman reveals Noah is the third outsider he has met, introducing himself as Razor Drain. Relieved, Noah shakes his massive hand, only for Razor to immediately suggest a live sparring match. Without warning, Razor chucks Noah over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes. Noah screams for the receptionist's help as the giant lizard's heavy footsteps echo down the hallway. Razor barks an order to prep the arena because things are about to get wild. Noah internally cries out for his mother, but absolutely nothing in this fantasy world can save him now. The giant beast leaps straight off the third-floor balcony, cracking the stone ground beneath him like an absolute meteor. He tosses Noah down and demands a fight to see what he is made of. Now, watch closely because Noah begs for a quick prep session, and Razor happily points him to the waiting room right next door. Slamming the door shut, Noah takes a deep breath to recover from the boss's sheer intensity. Alone at last, he pulls up his system screen to quickly cook up a survival plan. Grabbing a magical tome, Noah taps into his dimensional pocket, using his soul's astral energy to create a handy, personalized cloud storage system for all of his gear. Outside, Razor is aggressively hammering on the door, itching to throw hands. Desperate to buy a few more seconds, Noah spots a vase on the table and decides to test out his new inventory trick. But the moment the vase vanishes, he gets a strange sensation that it is sitting right in his pants pocket. With a simple thought, the vase teleports right back into his hand. He is blown away by how easy it is, but the hype is cut short as Razor kicks the door open to demand if the rookie is ready. Noah nods, and the beastly leader tells him to show off his moves. A tense silence fills the arena as Noah sizes up his giant opponent, who mockingly promises that a single clean hit will win the match. Noah scratches his head, thinking that sounds way too easy. The excited crowd cheers, eager to see the newbie get pulverized, while Aurelia quietly watches next to a girl with glasses who is busy scribbling notes. Razor glares with terrifying eyes, crossing his arms and waiting for our boy's first move. Suddenly, the arrogant lizard's power aura skyrockets. Aurelia watches as Razor commands the glass-wearing girl, Remy, to act as the official referee for this duel. With a nod, Remy steps up. The fighters face off as the crowd holds its breath. She raises her hand, building the suspense to a fever pitch. Before shouting for them to fight, Noah darts forward like a bullet, drawing his twin daggers to pounce. He blinks directly behind his opponent. But the veteran Dragonman senses the shift immediately. Razor spins with a blinding, heavy punch that Noah barely dodges by a hair. But a hair isn't enough. Razor's massive fist connects flush with his gut, sending Noah flying backward like a rag doll. He crashes hard, but rises with a grin. Now I know you are thinking he's done, but Razor actually applauds his teleporting tricks, admitting he was nearly caught off guard. Still shaking from the blow, Noah tightens his grip on his dagger, staring down the giant. Suddenly, his eyes flash a menacing crimson as he unleashes his raw life force. Razor loves the spirit and lets his own energy flare up to the max. Channeling the dark, swirling energy of the void, Noah charges the guildmaster once more. In an epic move, Noah hurls his dagger and teleports it mid-air to strike from a blind spot. But the veteran boss lives up to his rank, catching the blade effortlessly while praising Noah's incredible void magic. Ignoring the compliment, Noah swings for a sideways slash. But the Dragonman snatches his wrists like he is holding grocery bags, casually suggesting that a spear would fit his agile style much better. But mid-sentence, Noah slips right out of his grasp with another lightning-fast teleport. Trembling from massive mana depletion, Noah listens as Razar explains how a polearm would boost his reach. With a smug grin, Razar punches the incoming dagger away, calling it weak. Kneeling to fight through the pain, Noah looks at his dropped weapons lying in the dirt. Razar grins, warning our hero that it is finally his turn to show some real force. Noah and Aurelia watch anxiously, wondering what sort of power the boss is hiding. Suddenly, Razar lunges forward, shattering the concrete beneath him and completely vanishing from sight. Noah wonders if he is teleporting too, but he has no time to think as the Guildmaster slams down with a devastating strike. Noah barely dodges, realizing this giant is as fast as actual lightning. Razar laughs, highly impressed by our hero's insane reflexes and combat performance. With feral eyes, he warns that the warm-up is officially over. He charges with terrifying speed, forcing Noah to block with his dagger. But the impact of that sledgehammer punch sends our boy flying backward once again. This time, Noah recovers mid-air with a blink, only to see the massive lizard tearing through the air to crush him. He barely manages to raise his monster-grafted arm to block. The collision is brutal, absolutely plastering our hero into the dirt. Razar pinpins Noah's arm, slamming him down and pinning him to the floor. Growling, the Guildmaster demands to know how a mere boy grafted a literal void monster onto his arm, but with a heavy knee pinning his chest, Noah can barely breathe, let alone speak. Struggling, Noah plants his foot on the lizard's chest and flares his dark void aura. Sensing the shift, the boss quickly drops into a brutal leg lock, warning Noah that void magic will eventually consume him. He points out how his own massive aura is already heavily restricting the boy's movements. While the boss is busy lecturing him about the graft, Noah secretly opens his inventory portal right behind the big guy. Before Razar even realizes what is happening, Noah literally sucks his leather pants into storage. Aurelia is absolutely speechless at her partner's ridiculous tactic, but the deed is done. And that is where we leave it a pantless guild leader and a teleporting hero. But shockingly, Razar actually respects the kid's sheer audacity. He suddenly hurls the dagger back at Noah, who is too exhausted to react. Alright, let's dive into the moment our main character activated his astral walker to draw his dagger and slipped into a dimensional portal to recover. Staring at his own reflection in the steel, he desperately searched for any way to strike down an opponent both faster and stronger than himself. Suddenly, out of nowhere, his floating pot of stones nudged his back as if saying, "I am right here, baby." This immediately brought a $1,000,000 smile to Noah's face as a brilliant plan formed. Ignoring Razar grumbling about him playing dirty, Noah uncapped the pot. Snapping back to the fight, he launched a barrage of stones straight at the giant lizard, blinding him with what looked like a personal meteor shower. A swarm of void portals opened right above Razar, raining down heavy stone strikes. But reality hits hard, and Noah's mana pool was rapidly draining to zero. In a final desperate move, he crossed back to reality, reaching out with Tony's hand to touch Razar's scales. The beast reacted instantly, catching Noah's arm and slamming our hero hard onto the dirt once more. But Noah just smirked and whispered, "Behind you, handsome." In a flash, his daggers materialized from the astral plane, burying themselves deep into Razar's back and catching him completely off guard. Razar pulled himself up and offered a hand to Noah, offering his congratulations. Remy then loudly declared that Noah had officially passed the combat trial, sending the shocked crowd into a wild, cheering frenzy. Every adventurer who saw the fight desperately wanted to know his official standing. Suddenly, one of them holding a guild ledger raised his voice. He shouted that Noah ranked 48th, securing a spot in the top 50. Frozen in place by the sudden cheers, a totally confused Noah asked Remy what all the fuss was about. She explained that the guild kept track of how long challengers survived against the master. In fact, Razar had already battled 174 D-rank and higher adventurers that day. Noah was stunned, not by his rank, but because that massive lizard had fought 175 times already. He could not believe how much raw progress he had gained from a single spar. The biggest win was his blink skill reaching level 10, unlocking access to dangerous astral rifts. Wondering about his new teleportation range, he studied space structures, finding it fascinating that he could peer across realms while building a stronger resistance to magical attacks. Pay attention here, because Noah soon wandered down a hallway, opening a door to find Aurelia talking with Nay. Judging by the tense looks on their faces, he realized his timing was awful. The petite receptionist was busy reporting that some dangerous abyssal scum had escaped right under her nose, prompting Noah to join in and ask if she meant Aurelia's former comrades. The sorceress grimly admitted this was far from a one-time incident. She had been tracking a series of disappearances, all tied back to missions taken by specific guild members. Nay was furious. knowing that if people lost trust in the organization, it would be a complete disaster, especially with dangerous cultists pulling strings from the shadows. Noah asked if she had located the traitors. The sorceress explained her only remaining lead pointed to a mission somewhere near the city of Wint. Pressing her fingers to her temples, Nay focused her mana to pinpoint the suspect's exact locations. As loose documents began swirling wildly around the office, Noah stared in absolute awe at the young girl's immense power, which Aurelia softly explained was rare fate magic. Suddenly, Nay locked her eyes on a single flying sheet and snatched it right out of the air, revealing that Aquarius was the next destination for their hunt. Aurelia bowed deeply in gratitude, but Nay urged them to treat this as an official guild request to track down the Iron Fists and drag them back to face justice. As the system registered the new quest under the name Vengeful Hunt, the petite receptionist made just one grim request. Make sure to bring at least one of those traitors back alive. Following their meeting, Noah mentioned needing a new spear, and Aurelia immediately offered to show him the perfect shop. She led him down a dark, narrow tunnel, leaving the boy feeling a bit uneasy as they headed deep down a stone staircase. They finally stopped at a wooden door with a hanging sign, and Aurelia swung it open, warmly calling out to a young craftsman named Josiah who was working inside. The young man smiled warmly, clearly happy to see his old friend, whom he affectionately called the Fire Parakeet. He gave Aurelia a big hug, telling her how much he missed her, and she happily returned the warm embrace. She then introduced Noah, who gave a slightly awkward wave to the cheerful blacksmith, who in turn stepped forward and shook our hero's hand with a warm grin. Aurelia explained that Josiah belonged to a famous lineage of master blacksmiths, was a trusted close friend, and was the very person who crafted her battle gauntlets. Josiah smiled modestly but quickly noticed her bare hands, asking what happened to his work. Aurelia sadly explained she had been captured by cultists and lost all her gear during the escape. Ever the optimist, Josiah mentioned having a brand new flame enchantment he was dying to test out, and Aurelia was the perfect candidate for it. Without hesitation, she agreed, bringing a huge smile to the friendly blacksmith's face. But hey, let's not forget about Noah, who still needed a weapon tailored to his unique combat style. Josiah invited him into the back room to choose the perfect spear. Noah entered the armory, gazing at the massive weapon display. Josiah first showed him an enchanted spear, capable of delivering a rapid triple strike with every single swing. Next up was a spiral-bladed spear that could unleash sharp gusts of wind magic. With so many incredible options, the blacksmith let our hero look around and make his own choice. Noah browsed the shelves until a specific weapon caught his eye. It was a crimson spear, cursed with a bloodlust so intense it could consume its own wielder. Captivated, our protagonist asked to examine it closely, practically drooling over the crimson-wrought enchantment left behind by the spirit of a fallen Valkyrie warrior. When Noah declared his choice and asked for the price, Josiah stared at him in complete and utter disbelief. Losing his cheerful attitude, the blacksmith respectfully explained, mostly out of regard for Aurelia, that this particular crimson weapon was absolutely not for sale. Carefully holding the weapon's shaft with a thick cloth, Josiah explained he only kept it around in the hopes of someday purging the highly dangerous wrought magic inside it. Noah listened intently as the smith warned him that if his arm got infected by the spear's dark curse, his only hope of survival would be a brutal amputation. Besides, wielding it required a legendary resistance to rot that almost nobody possessed. Noah smirked, lifting his grafted hand to ask if he could at least try a test run. But a worried Josiah warned the curse could easily destroy his prosthetic arm. He apologized, stating firmly that he could not sell it. Undeterred, Noah tried to convince him, arguing that his unique traits would allow him to safely master the weapon's curse. Aurelia suddenly chimed in from the doorway, telling the blacksmith to just let Noah have the weapon. But a shocked Josiah quickly turned to his friend, reminding her how lethal wrought magic is. She acknowledged the danger but pointed out that she had seen Noah survive a massive dose of lethal necrotoxins without a single scratch. Besides, if Josiah refused, this clever guy would probably just teleport back at midnight and steal it anyway. The blacksmith nearly choked hearing that Noah possessed teleportation skills. Reluctantly, he agreed to sell it for 8 D-rank mana stones, warning him that caution saves lives. Noah immediately haggled the price down to 5, leaving the blacksmith looking incredibly defeated. As he prepared to leave with his deadly new toy, Noah asked if the blacksmith had a skill tome for spear proficiency. Josiah agreed to part with it for 2 additional mana stones, handing over the manual along with a stylish new outfit as a special bonus. Aurelia quietly watched the two finish up their transaction. Not wasting a single second, Noah immediately used his system to absorb all the details regarding his new weapon's handling and unique qualities. And with that, we leave him here as Josiah warned Noah that returning it later won't fetch a full refund. Hey, That is just supply and demand for you, right? Let's dive into the journey of Noah, rocking a badass coat like a metal singer as he bids the craftsman goodbye. Naturally, our main character wanted to test out his epic new spear immediately, but Aurelia stepped in like a strict mom, banning him from using his shiny new toy until after they had dinner, leaving Noah sulking and wondering why he couldn't have some fun. His mood quickly brightened when Aurelia suggested checking out the castle's astral rift. Seeing how curious he was, the sorceress explained that the fortress was actually built right on top of a portal leading directly to the astral plane of winds, which totally hooked him. As they watched a crowd of flying performers, Noah wanted to stay and enjoy the show, but Aurelia dragged him away, snapping that she had better things to do than babysit him, flirting with local girls. Accepting the scolding, our hero quickly defended himself, claiming he wasn't trying to flirt and just wanted to hear the end of the song. But Noah couldn't stop looking back, prompting Aurelia to almost punch him. He tried to argue that the girl selling herbs was cute, but the sorceress crushed his dreams by telling him she was just a sneaky thief. Aurelia warned that these girls targeted tourists, getting them drunk with special herbal drinks before robbing them clean of absolutely everything they owned. Noah casually bragged that alcohol had no effect on him, prompting the annoyed sorceress to let go of his hand and walk ahead. Soon, they arrived at the governor's grand castle. Aurelia stopped to admire the tall spires, with Noah silently following close behind. She explained that this place was also home to the temple of Ava, goddess of winds and wisdom. According to local legend, this goddess opened the regional astral rifts, making our curious main character wonder if divine beings could just open portals at will. Now, watch closely because here's where we learn that some rifts can actually open entirely on their own in the wild. Noah asked about the goddess, and Aurelia said they might find her inside. To prevent any chaos, she warned him to show absolute respect if they met. Noah scoffed, saying he wasn't 4 years old, but the sorceress fired back that 4 was actually a mature age compared to a grown man throwing a tantrum over a spear. That burn definitely hurt Noah's pride, and Aurelia loved teasing him. But their banter was cut short when our hero spotted a glowing fairy spinning and dancing right before his eyes. Aurelia pointed out that these cute creatures were air elementals, common in this area, and fluttering around like fireflies in the dark. Noah wondered if they always roamed around, and she explained that they flew freely since this was the wind goddess's temple. Our hero tried to be friendly and pet one, but the little creature bit his finger with pure aggression. The tiny elemental quickly flew off, complaining that Noah smelled completely empty. Aurelia scolded him, but he protested that he was just trying to be nice before getting attacked for stinking. The sorceress burst out laughing, admitting she agreed with the fairy, even if she lacked the courage to say it so directly to the Lord of Hygiene. Entering the temple, Noah saw a statue of Ava and her companion Vad, while a powerful vortex of energy swirled directly under their feet. Noah asked if the swirling vortex was an astral rift, and Aurelia confirmed he could likely feel the wind rushing from it. As the young man stepped closer, one of the fairies blocked his path, inviting him to her home. She claimed the Great Mother would love to meet the smelly intruder. Noah stood before the portal while the tiny elemental kept begging him to come inside. Sensing the portal's strange pull, he told Aurelia what was happening, leaving her highly skeptical. Noah admitted he felt drawn to step inside, but Aurelia warned that doing so would shred him to pieces and completely erase his mana. Completely unfazed by the danger, our hero grabbed her hand and asked her to dive in with him to explore, but she flatly refused. Before she could talk him out of this reckless stunt, Noah instantly activated Blink. He grabbed the startled sorceress and leaped right into the vortex, which dragged them in like a vacuum. Blinded by the intense light, Noah struggled to see. The fairy guided them through a corridor of manifested doors until they suddenly plummeted directly into the beautiful astral plane of winds. You saw that coming, right? Aurelia was absolutely furious, but suddenly, a soft, welcoming voice echoed through the vast space. An incredibly beautiful woman sitting on a grand throne noted that it had been a very long time since she had received such intriguing guests. She watched them with curiosity, while Aurelia stood frozen in complete shock. Noah, however, was way more curious about what kind of skills she used to get those flawless, plump lips. The goddess smiled at his boldness in scanning her with his system. When he asked how she knew him, Aurelia panicked and frantically demanded he show some respect. But the goddess didn't mind, calmly stating she knew many things as the goddess of wisdom, before taking a classy sip of champagne to clear her throat. Suddenly, Noah felt a sharp shove on his neck as Aurelia forced him to bow, quickly apologizing to Ava for his rude behavior and explaining that they never meant to trespass into her sacred realm. But Ava laughed it off, explaining she kept the portal open only for her elementals and honestly never expected any humans to actually jump right in. The little fairy whispered in the deity's ear, leading Ava to announce that her companion found Noah fascinating, though Aurelia quickly chimed in to claim he was just a moron. The sorceress grumbled that his parents must have dropped him on his head as a baby for him to think leaping into random portals was cool. Ava stood up gracefully, telling Aurelia to calm down. She didn't view his arrival as an error, noting that destiny works in mysterious ways and would have brought him here eventually. Detecting the scent of emptiness on the young man, the goddess snapped her fingers to give him a magical wash. Noah suddenly felt like he was going through an astral car wash, surprised to find himself completely dry afterward. Ava descended her throne, explaining she had cleansed the negative energy he gathered, especially the tiny void parasite. She then floated over to him, effortlessly opening his system screen to retrieve the tainted spear he bought. She noted that the weapon once belonged to a member of the Scarlet Valkyries, formerly led by Rena. Inspecting the spear, she pointed out the heavy corruption, but revealed that even this dark energy could become a blessing if guided correctly. Ava mentioned that Noah's fate was intertwined with Rena, asking if he knew this or if she had appeared again. Our confused hero, however, had absolutely no idea who she was talking about. Aurelia chimed in, explaining that Rena was an ancient war deity who commanded the legendary Valkyries. Ava added that the spear was hers, and Noah's marked fate would guide him to her. Suddenly, a flash of memory surged from his subconscious, showing a brief vision of the war goddess trying to save his life. Though he was left confused, trust me, you and I can see his massive destiny unfolding as Ava handed back the spear, promising it would guide him toward the goddess. Lady Ava requested that if he found Rena, he must tell her she still awaits her promise. Aurelia then politely asked a question, which the goddess happily allowed. All right, you and I are jumping right back into the action where our sorceress desperately needs info on those deadly cultists. But despite her massive pool of divine knowledge, the goddess cannot help them. Ava explains that a dark void protects those cultists in shadow, completely blocking her from seeing where they go. Aurelia thanks her, feeling pretty disappointed, but the goddess mentions she can actually help them with something else. She opens up her massive library to our heroes, bragging about her weird collection, which even includes a rock album. But there is a catch. They must share some secret she does not know yet. The two think it over, and Noah remembers a perfect secret, but he keeps it quiet to be safe. He whispers it to Ava, absolutely shocking her with the juicy gossip. Aurelia just watches with a blank face, while Noah casually reassures the goddess that this rock legend is still a big deal. Ava grants them library access, but warns them not to disturb Vat, who really hates strangers. Walking away, Aurelia asks what he whispered, and Noah laughs it off as music gossip from his old world. While Ava sips her divine champagne, Noah boasts to the sorceress that she can never underestimate his legendary connections again. Noah happily browses the books until he decides to wake up Tony, his sleepy parasite arm, for a quick chat. Now pay attention, because this is where it gets crazy. Our main character pulls out that cursed ring and asks his creepy parasitic hand to possess the artifact. Dark energy oozes from his arm, which is a clear yes. Suddenly, Tony's eye begins to warp and transfer itself directly into the cultist ring. Noah finds this hilarious while the parasite looks around. He asks Tony if the eye can actually detach itself. After a few tries, tiny wings sprout from the parasite, turning it into a flying eye bat. Tony zooms up to the highest shelves to scan books for him. This instantly unlocks new skills on Noah's character sheet and boosts his stats. As he packs up, a tiny fairy flies over and says the mother goddess likes him. The excited elemental leads the way, wanting to show him something cool. Realizing the fairy is inviting him to an astral rift, Noah eagerly steps through the barrier. On the other side, the little creature guides him through a beautiful fountain garden. Noah is amazed by the stunning stone flower sculptures where clear water flows. Dozens of elementals fly around Noah before diving straight into the fountain, revealing a whole new hidden world beneath the water's surface. Noah almost dips his monster hand in, but a voice warns him to stop. He spins around to find a massive, sassy pigeon asking who is ruining its peace. Noah politely explains he was just exploring the library's rifts and figures this giant bird must be the legendary Vat. Honestly, can you blame her for being totally annoyed? This massive bird just glares at Noah, wondering why the goddess brought in someone smelling of decay. But the blue bird quickly realizes Noah is bound by a heavy fate, meaning it is not Ava's fault this smelly human is here. Pretty confused by all this destiny talk, Noah asks how fate even works. She explains that while endless possibilities exist, a guided destiny is simply the path most likely to happen. He is shocked when she tells him he already has a deep connection to this place. But destiny aside, he woke her up, so she demands he get out before she snaps. Noah bows politely and begs her for one quick question, which catches the grumpy blue bird's curiosity. He asks about his cursed spear, explaining he's tried everything to unlock its power, but found absolutely zero info on its dark magic in the library. She inspects the weapon, warning that its touch brings it deadly rot. Potions and healers will only make the terrible damage much worse. When Noah asks what to do, she says he must let the spear's spirit flow freely through his soul. Only then will it recognize him, but he must control it before the rot consumes him. As Noah stares at the weapon, his system immediately updates with a new bond in quest. Noah unwraps the spear, ready to take a massive gamble. The bird thinks he is incredibly foolish, but she's happy to watch the show unfold, knowing it will be an unforgettable sight. He looks at her and tells her to watch closely. He poisons himself with the rot, triggering system warnings, but his and Tony's unique passive skills completely resist the deadly plague. Then, it happens. A red system alert asks if he wants to bond. He clicks yes and is instantly dragged into the weapon's mindscape. He stands before a river of blood piled high with bones, while a mysterious silhouette watches him from the shadows. Horrified, Noah demands to know where they are. He calls out to the dark figure, but gets only silence. That is all the time we have for today, guys. Make sure to hit that notification bell for the next part.